Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Respected Principal Dr. Shahid Zakaullah Sir, respected Director of the Institute Dr. Sirajuddin Chogle Sir, our Chief Guest today Dr. Faisal Ahmad Manju Sir, Mufti Ashfaq Sahab, all other members of the teaching faculty who are present here, and dear students. As you all know that today we have gathered here in an international seminar on the topic Ethical Investing and Sharia Compliant Mutual Funds, Pathways to Responsible Wealth Creation. You know that Quran Majid is a book of guidance. It is a book of revolution. In Quran Majid, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَتِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ. We have revealed this book and there is narration about everything in this book. All those things which exist in this world, Mufassirin say that directly or indirectly they have been mentioned in the Holy Quran. So Holy Quran is a book of guidance, and as an Urdu poet says that हर लफ्ज़ को सीने में बसा लो तो बने बात, हर लफ्ज़ को सीने में बसा लो तो बने बात, ताकों में सजाने को ये कुरान नहीं है. With this couplet, I invite our student Samir Ansari of SYBA Arabic to please come over here and recite a few verses of the Holy Quran.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تأكلوا ومن يفعل ذلك عدوانا وظلما فسوف نصليه نارا وكان ذلك على الله يسيرا. إن تجتنبوا كبائر ما تنهون عنه نكفر عنكم سيئاتكم وندخلكم مدخلا كريما. ولا تتمنوا ما فضل الله به بعضكم على بعض. للرجال نصيب مما اكتسبوا وللنساء نصيب مما اكتسبن واسألوا الله من فضله إن الله كان بكل شيء عليما. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent and the most merciful. O believers, do not eat one another's wealth illegally, but rather trade by mutual consent. And do not kill each other or yourselves. Surely Allah is ever merciful to you. And whoever does this sinfully and unjustly, we will burn them in the fire. That is easy for Allah. If you avoid the major sin forbidden to you, we will absolve you of your lesser misdeeds and admit you into a place of honor. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
MashaAllah. Jazakallahu khair, Ansari Samir. As I told you in the introductory words, that Quran covers every topic that can come to your mind. And just now, as we were talking about ethical investment and Sharia compliant mutual funds, you could see that this student who came here, he recited the verses that deal with trade, with the topic of tijara. Now, without wasting any time, we proceed further, and it is time for us to listen attentively to the welcome address of this session, and for this, with all respect, I invite Principal Dr. Shahid Zakaullah sir with this couplet, फितरत के तकाज़े कभी बदले नहीं जाते, फितरत के तकाज़े कभी बदले नहीं जाते, खुशबू है अगर वो तो बिखरना ही पड़ेगा. शाहिद मोहम्मद ज़काउल्लाह सर.
अस्सलामु अलैकुम रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू. Dr. Faisal Ahmad Manju, CEO Minara Consulting Limited, Mufti Sahab, Dr. Sirajuddin Chogle, Director, Education Society, dear colleagues from different departments and dear students. Today we have gathered here to participate in an international seminar on ethical investing and Sharia compliant mutual funds, pathways to responsible wealth creation. The word international is very meaningful here. We have our resource persons not from India but UK based, about whom we will talk in detail later. The word ethical is very important. I was going through some documents, and the word ethical, which comes from ethics, it means ethics imposes reasonable obligations to refrain from what is wrong and unacceptable. Ethics expects us to conform to a standard of what is right and good. Now we can understand the title of the seminar in a much better way. So we are going to discuss ethical investing. I'm sure most of you are from economics, commerce, BAF, BMS background. You understand the importance of investing. We promote investing, but what we are going to discuss is ethical investing, and especially we would like to know what are the mutual funds which are Sharia compliant. And if we follow this, it will be definitely a responsible way towards wealth creation. As a principal, I am very happy to receive our guest today and would like to welcome him on behalf of Maharashtra College, Dr. Faisal Ahmad Manju. He has done PhD in a very important subject. He is Chief Executive Officer of Minara Consulting Limited. I would also like to welcome another of our guests who is about to reach, is Mr. Ashraf Mohammadi. He is also Chief Executive Officer, Idafa Investment. I welcome Mufti Sahab from Mumbai, who is also sitting on the dais, and I'm extremely happy to inaugurate this seminar. Welcome all the guests, and I'm sure we are going to discuss very important aspects as far as this international seminar is concerned. We'll be talking about the objectives of this seminar by Dr. Sirajuddin Chogle. We would like to listen to expert talks by Mr. Ashraf Mohammadi, followed by Dr. Faisal Ahmad Manju, who would again further enlighten all of us. And towards the end, we would like to listen to Dr. Rakshanda Hani, who will have concluding remarks and summary of the seminar. And I would expect some intelligent questions from amongst the audience. So be prepared towards the end, or wherever you feel you would like to clarify some concepts. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for these enlightening words. When I invited Principal, sir, so I read a couplet in Urdu, because sir writes poetry in Urdu. And now it's time to invite Director of the Institute, Dr. Sirajuddin Chogle, sir, and sir is a poet of English. So I would like to invite you, sir, with these words of Robert Frost, that though woods are lovely, dark and deep, though woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, miles to go before I sleep. Dr. Sirajuddin Chogle, sir.
For conducting this seminar, which basically would be talking about ethical investing and Sharia compliant mutual funds. Along with him, we also have Mr. Ashraf Mohammadi from IDAFA. Both are CEOs. We also are grateful to Mufti Ashfaq Qazi and Family First, which are the partners with Maharashtra College, for initiating this seminar. The objectives of these seminars are very clear. First and foremost, we need to create awareness. Create awareness about ethical investing and Sharia compliant mutual funds. Now, first and foremost, let us be very clear. This is not only for Muslims. This is for everyone, irrespective of the faith. So faith is not necessary. It's not you have to be Muslim, so you have to do this. No. In fact, I can put it across over here. We have one mutual fund. Bombay Stock has a mutual fund, which is a Tata Ethical Mutual Fund, which was basically created for Muslims. Basically created for Muslims. But if you go and look at that mutual fund, the number of the people who are there, who are investing, Muslims are hardly 8%. Muslims are hardly 8%. 92% is investment by the Jains. It should have been the reverse way. It was created for the Muslims, but Muslims are not investing. The Jains are investing. So it's very clear with this particular simple example that ethical investing is not only for Muslims, it is for anyone, any faith. So this is what we need to create. And where can we create this? The target audience is our students. The target audience are the teachers. The target audience is anyone who is interested in this. So creating an awareness, yes, there are platforms where you can do investments in ethical way. When we say ethical way, what does exactly it means? That we are investing. There are companies, like if you go to and find out companies, there are companies in the market, entertainment companies, companies which are in manufacturing alcohol, and so on. For ethical investment, these companies are forbidden. For ethical investment, these companies are forbidden because they are not under the Sharia compliant. Because the business that they are doing, that is not halal. So we need to be aware of all these things. And the students need to understand and think that this is your platform, you're getting these news, that in your progress of life, you need to take up investments and you need to be very careful where you need to invest. Quick money is always there. Quick money is always there, but that's not halal. So this whole seminar would be talking about this awareness. Then they will be also talking to you about the ways, what are the practical application, how you can practice, because practicing it is very important. When it comes to money, you need not be a student of commerce, you need not be a student of economics, right? पैसे सबको समझ में आते हैं, आपको इकोनॉमिक का स्टूडेंट बनने की ज़रूरत नहीं. We had a professor in our college long back. He was from Persian, and the calculation he used to do, we teachers of commerce and economics were not able to do. Very perfect. So everyone can do it. पैसे सबको समझ में आते हैं. सिर्फ हमको ये समझना है कि पैसे जो है किस तरीके से हलाल तरीके से हम इन्वेस्ट करें, हलाल तरीके से हमारी कमाई हो. ये इम्पोर्टेंट है, क्योंकि हमारा दीन ये कहता है. तो इसी तरीके से ये पूरा सेमिनार आपके लिए है, सो दैट यू अंडरस्टैंड दैट in the near future how best we can earn investments, you earn returns from your investments. At the same time, in the days to come, Maharashtra College will become an autonomous college, and inshallah we intend to at least start with basic certificate course on this particular topic, which is going to be discussed over here today. And I hope we have already had a talk with Dr. Faisal that he would be helping us out to draft a certificate course in the near future, which which students of this college or anyone can participate in that. With these few words, once again, thanking Dr. Fazal Ahmed and Ashraf Mohammadi. I wish the best for all of you over here, and you need to, when you go out of this auditorium, I hope that you will be able to, say you are a little extra, thoda sa humko kuch mil gaya. And once again, before saying thank you, I would like to say a big thank you to Mufti Ashfaq Qazi Sahab for making this event possible for us. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. We welcome our second वो तो पहले स्टेशन. Our second speaker, Mr. Ashraf Mohammadi sir. We welcome him in today's seminar. Now, it is time for us to show the appreciation and the love and thankfulness that we have in our hearts towards our chief guest of today's function, both the speakers. You understood it right. It is time for felicitation. And first of all, I request Principal Dr. Shahid Mohammad Zakaullah sir to please welcome our today's speaker, Mr. Ashraf Mohammadi sir, with a shawl, memento and Maharashtra College Sadaf magazine. Thank you very much, sir. Now I request our director, Dr. Sirajuddin Chogle, sir, to please felicitate Dr. Faisal Ahmad Manju, sir, with a shawl, memento, and college magazine. Thank you very much, sir. Now it is the time for us to listen to our distinguished speakers of the day. First of all, I would like to request all the dignitaries to please take their seats in the first row so that there won't be any hindrance to the PowerPoint presentation. Yes, sir. तो सर को बुलाऊं पहले कि आपको बुला रहा हूं? सर को बुलाऊं कि आपको बुलाऊं?
जैसे आपका प्लान है।
नहीं, अगर आप रेडी हैं तो कर लें। With all respect, I request Mr. Ashraf Mohammadi, sir, to please deliver his lecture. Ashraf Mohammadi, sir.
Recording in progress.
Sorry, there is a little change. Before Ashraf Mohammadi, sir, delivers his lecture, I would like to request Afra Karbhari of FYBMS to introduce our speaker today.
Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to one and all present here. This is Karbhari Afra Ashfaq from FIBMS. It is often said that real success is not just about how much wealth one creates, but about how responsibly and ethically the wealth is built. Today, we are privileged to welcome a personality who has consistently lived by this philosophy. It gives me immense honor to introduce Mr. Ashraf Mohammadi, the Chief Executive Officer of Idafa Investments, and a highly respected name in the field of Sharia-compliant wealth management and ethical investing. Mr. Ashraf Mohammadi began his professional journey in the world of finance in the year 1993. And for over 3 decades, he has remained committed to guiding individuals and families towards responsible and principled wealth creation. His vision has always been clear that financial growth should never come at the cost of values, ethics, or social responsibility. As a qualified personal finance professional, QPFP, he offers a comprehensive range of services including equity market investments, mutual funds, portfolio management services, and customized financial solutions. What truly distinguishes his work is his deep expertise in Sharia-compliant investment practices, enabling investors to participate confidently in the financial markets while remaining aligned with Islamic principles. Understanding that true financial independence begins with awareness in education, Mr. Mohammadi founded the Idafa School for Financial Freedom in the year 2016. Through this initiative, he has dedicated himself to spreading financial literacy, investment education, and trading knowledge, empowering individuals to make informed decisions rather than short-term choices. Over the years, he has conducted hundreds of seminars, workshops, and training programs on investment, education, and financial freedom, reaching audiences across India and overseas. His ability to simplify complex financial concepts and present them in a practical and relatable manner has made him a highly sought-after speaker and a mentor. Beyond his professional achievements, Mr. Ashraf Mohammadi is also actively involved in various social initiatives and advocacy groups. He has played a key role in guiding investors who wish to follow Islamic Sharia principles in trading and investments, contributing significantly to the growth of ethical and value-based finance. For students like us, his journey is an inspiration, a reminder that success achieved with knowledge, discipline, and integrity leaves a lasting impact. We are confident that his presence today will inspire us to approach finance, careers, and life with greater responsibility and a purpose. With great respect and admiration, I request everyone present here to please put your hands together and give a warm welcome to Mr. Ashraf Mohammadi. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Afra, for this introduction of Ashraf Mohammadi, sir. Sir, we were already eager to listen to you, but after this introduction, now our eagerness knows no limit. So over to you, sir. Thank you very much for being here.
अच्छा तो कोई बात नहीं मैं वैसे ही बोल लेता हूँ चलेगा सॉरी अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह नहमदुहु व नुसल्ली अला रसूलिहिल करीम right so our respected Mufti Sahab our faculty members and dear students, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The introduction I think Afra gave surprised me as well. I didn't know so many things about myself the way it was explained, alhamdulillah. I have been doing all of that but never realized that all of that has been recorded somewhere and presented so well. So Jazakallah khair for that. All right. Today, I am going to focus on the practical aspects of Sharia compliant investments because I'm leaving all the academics and the fiqh to our respected Mufti Sahab. But I will just focus on how can the youth basically practically implement these ideas in their life for ethical wealth creation. That's my only focus today. Fortunately, the presentation isn't working, and which is fine, so I can kind of speak openly and freely without any bounds of those slides. The reason we talk about investments, that the whole subject today is going to be why, what, where, and how, right? We are going to start with why. We are going to start with a purpose. What is the purpose of investments, right? A lot of people would have different goals in life. Someone wants to go for post-graduation education overseas, which is an expensive affair, right? There are other people who would like to buy an apartment to make it worse in South Mumbai, jahan, we are talking about at least 4-5 crore rupees. That's a Herculean task in any way. Right, and then there are so many other things. for post-graduation studies, or it could be your own marriage, funding your own marriage a few years down the line. It could be buying a car, it could be performing Hajj, and so on. So there are all of these goals in life, and people generally invest now so that they are able, with the returns from that investments, they are able to fulfill the goals in the future. That's the basic aspect of investment, right? There is a difference between savings and investment. When it comes to savings, you just set some money aside, and in a short-term period, you might want to buy a bike, you might want to fund something that you have in mind, less than 6 to 8 months to a year's time. That's savings, that's the role of savings, right? But if you feel that you keep setting money aside and it is going to help you fulfill those bigger goals in life, that's not going to happen with savings, right? So different from savings is investments. And when we talk about investments, you commit your funds today, that money then goes to work and it creates more wealth for you, which then now helps you fulfill those future goals in life. So that's the distinction between savings and investments, and we are talking about investments, right? So wealth creation happens to these kind of investments. Why should you invest in the first place? Can I hear, besides the goals, can I hear from you? Let's make this interactive rather than I speaking all the way and then some of you might go off to sleep, right? So let's hear from some of you. That what could be the reason? Goals taken care of, but there is an important reason why we should be investing. So let's hear from you. Why should you invest, right? Anyone? Ji?
To make money, sir.
Yeah, to make money, obviously, yes. To make money, what else? To beat inflation, right? Okay. Anyone else? Yeah.
As of you all know that if you do the saving, we actually do it in the bank. And as a Muslim, we are taking the interest rate for ourselves.
Right.
So while doing savings, we can put that money in investment and we can earn profit of it.
Instead of interest, earning profits, right? And that too in a halal way, inshallah. Right, perfect. Good. Anything else? One last option.
To navigate smoothly through the uncertain phases of
Very good. Excellent. To navigate smoothly to different uncertainties in life, right? So when we talk about investment, put your money today so that you earn in the future. When you're talking about that, the future is uncertain, right? There is no way we can know the future. Allah alone knows the future. So how do you go about investing in that case? Future तो uncertain है, पता नहीं कल क्या होने वाला है, लेकिन हम कल के लिए ही invest कर रहे हैं. How does that make sense? What is the way out in this situation? अच्छा, और एक मुसीबत, वो दूसरों की तरह जो भविष्यवाणी करवाते हैं, fortune seeking and so on, fortune telling rather, वो भी आप नहीं कर सकते हैं, मोस्ट ऑफ यू, राइट? तो फिर अब तो और बुरे फंस गए, पता ही नहीं है फ्यूचर में क्या होने वाला है. बाकी लोगों को तो पता है, एक तोता जाकर पत्ता निकालता है, उसको अपना फ्यूचर पता चल जाता है, राइट? और भी अलग अलग तरीक़ेकार है. तो आप क्या करेंगे? What is it can you do when fortune telling is not allowed, tarot card reading is not allowed and so on? How do you determine a future? How do you invest in an uncertain future when you know nothing about it? क्या किया जाना चाहिए ऐसी सूरत हाल में? Sorry? Risk? Risk? You take a blind risk, right? No problem. Right? That's one way, okay. What else can you do? How do you manage the risk? Yeah? By diversifying. By diversifying your investments. Okay, that's a part of the game, right? What else? Yeah? Do some research on where to invest, how to invest, and so on, right?
Someone said tawakkul.
Tawakkul, absolutely. Absolutely. That is what beats everything. But the Prophet ﷺ said, right, tie your camel and then have tawakkul. So how do you tie your camel? All right, great. Tick. How do you tie your camel? My camel is tied now. I'll have to follow the script. अभी तक मैं enjoy कर रहा था लेकिन अब फंस गया. Right. चले. How do you tie your camel?
Investing in mutual funds.
No, don't go there. Not yet, not yet. Right. So the way to tie the camel is planning. You ought to do some planning. You ought to have your goals in place. And when we talk about goals, the goals ought to be SMART. Right? What is SMART? It's an acronym for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, target-oriented goals, right? So you ought to have those SMART goals, and that is how you know where you are headed, you manage your risk, you diversify, and then you have tawakkul and go ahead. I said thoda istikhara bhi kar lena chahiye before putting in the money, so that makes a lot of difference. So coming back to the question, why should you invest? The main reason why you should be investing is to fight this number one enemy of your wealth. Who is or what is the number one enemy of your wealth? Inflation, okay. What else? There are no wrong answers. I'm not going to punish any one of you for a wrong. There are no wrong answers because everyone is going to speak from their perspective, their background, right? So what is or who is the number one enemy of your wealth? Unnecessary expenditure, fuzul kharchi, right? What else? Come on, let's make this interactive. Participate, think about it. Sorry? Khwahishat, right, very good. Desires, what else? Overspending, फजूल खर्ची, जिसके बारे में कुरान में अल्लाह सुब्हानहू व तआला फरमाया है कि जो इस तरीके से एक्स्ट्रावेगेंट है वो शैतान का भाई है, राइट? तो एक्स्ट्रावेगेंस इज सो बैड. एनिमी, ओके, गुड कैंडिडेट. व्हाट एल्स? Using money for showing off. Absolutely. Just because my neighbor has this, I must have it, right? What else? Come on. Let's hear. Come on. Let the responses come quickly.
Looks like shaitan.
That looks like shaitan, yeah. It's shaitan's handiwork, no doubt about it. Right. So let's eliminate the suspense. इसका कोई है? अच्छा, फिजिकली करना होगा जी. नेक्स्ट. Right, so as you said, the number one enemy of your wealth is inflation, right? What is inflation? Anyone? What is inflation? It reduces the purchasing power, right? Yes? Is there a, okay. Right. So inflation is the rate at which things become more and more expensive in your economy. It reduces your purchasing power. It reduces the effectiveness of the currency that you are holding, right? So originally, Sheikh, you're from South Africa, right? And just next to South Africa, close by, is Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, the condition of inflation, the rate at which things were becoming more and more expensive, was such that at one point of time, the Zimbabwean dollar, if I have to buy a loaf of bread, I would need a sack full of cash to be able to buy that. If two of us, sir, decided to go and have lunch at Delhi Darbar, it would mean I would have to carry cash in a truck to be able to pay the bill for two people. Things got so worse that the government, the global community, IMF, World Bank, all of them, they decided that we will have to demonetize not just 500 rupees and 1000 rupees. We demonetize the entire Zimbabwean dollar, nothing. And transactions happen there in US dollars today. Right? क्योंकि वो feasible ही नहीं रहा, वहाँ currency में deal करना was. So that was the state of inflation in Zimbabwe. आज हमारे friendly neighborhood Pakistan का उतना बुरा हाल नहीं है, लेकिन it's somewhere over there. Inflation in Pakistan is around 38%. Right? And so on. So Sri Lanka का कुछ साल पहले, it was the same situation. So what does the inflation do? If I have 10 lakh rupees I'm going to use it somewhere in the future, say my children's wedding. By the way, just my first son, he got married and the walima was just this Sunday. So I know how much that kind of saving is valuable, right? So I am planning to use this a few years down the line. Let's assume inflation in India is at 10%. The real rate of inflation is actually 10%, right? So let's assume it's 10%. 5 years down the line, I need that money. How much do I have in my hands? It's a mathematical question. Sorry, I couldn't avoid it, but you will have to answer this. Yeah, 10 lakh rupees, inflation 10%. I need it 5 years down the line. How much do I have? Hello. 10% value lost every single year. That brings you to 5.5 lakh rupees, right? So if I need to buy something which was originally worth 10 lakh rupees, I would now need 22, 23, 24 lakh rupees to be able to buy that. Because what I have now can only buy stuff worth 5.5 lakh rupees, right? That's inflation. How does inflation impact you? The richest people in the world have to know ways and means to make money greater than inflation so that they are able to maintain their wealth. The poorest people in the world who struggle to survive will have to work harder to get that 2 meals on their table on a daily basis, right? So that's how inflation impacts humanity at large. It impacts them in so many other ways, but then the biggest contributor to inflation is interest. Yeah, 96% of the contribution to inflation is that of interest. The greed to earn more and more interest by banks, by governments, by small pawn brokers and whatnot. अरे पूरे राज खुल गए अपने. All right, so all of these people, their greed to earn more and more interest is what leads to inflation. So the way it works is, governments, for example, they have their budget. 1 February को बजट आ रहा है अपना इंडिया का, तैयार हो जाए. वो जैसे वो कहते हैं अपनी कुर्सी की पेटी बांध ले, सीतारमन आ रही है, right? So first is the budget day. Now on the budget day, what is discussed is, this is what we this is the kind of expenses that we incur, and this is the tax income that we generate, and generally speaking there is a budgetary deficit. खर्चा जो है वो आमदनी से ज़्यादा होता है. अब ये जो खर्चा है, जो डिफरेंस है, डेफिसिट है, उसको कवर कैसे किया जाता है? तो एक बड़ा आसान तरीका है, लेकिन और तरीके हैं. जैसे गवर्नमेंट की कंपनीज होती है, उसमें से उनको डिविडेंड्स मिल जाते हैं, कुछ टैक्सेस तो है ही है. लेकिन ये डेफिसिट कवर करने का सबसे आसान तरीका, द गवर्नमेंट्स अक्रॉस द वर्ल्ड हु आर नॉट प्रॉपरली मैनेज यूज दिस, एंड दैट इज प्रिंटिंग मनी. Right? They would just print some extra cash. 5,000 crore rupees का अगर budgetary deficit है, right? तो अब क्या करना होगा इनको? 1 लाख करोड़ रुपए. अब तो प्रिंट करने की भी ज़रूरत नहीं है, वो सब डिजिटल हो जाता है. वो प्रिंट करके या वो बनाकर उसको बैंक्स को रेपो रेट जिसे कहा जाता है, जस्ट मेक अ नोट ऑफ ऑल दीज थिंग्स. रेपो रेट 5% लगाकर उनको दे दिया, राइट? इकोनॉमी में 1 लाख करोड़ रुपया आ गया, गवर्नमेंट को अपना डेफिसिट कवर करने का मौका मिल गया, और बैंक्स भी खुश, 5% में उनको पैसे मिल गए. अब ये 5% का जो उनको पैसे मिले हैं, वो आगे 8% पे, 9% पे होम लोन्स, 10, 11, 12% पे पर्सनल लोन्स, ऑटो लोन्स, क्रेडिट कार्ड, सारा कुछ करके वो इस माशरे में फैला देंगे. इसका नतीजा क्या होगा? Everyone is happy. The banks are happy. People who are manufacturers, उनको आसानी से पैसे मिल रहे हैं, वो खुश है. Retailers, wholesalers, सारे के सारे खुश है क्योंकि सामान बिक रहा है. कंज्यूमर्स खुश है क्योंकि उनके पास पैसे हैं, वो स्पेंड कर सकते हैं, हर तरफ खुशहाली ही खुशहाली। बट ऑल ऑफ दिस इज़ अ स्क्रीन, ये अपेरेंट खुशहाली है। इन रियलिटी क्या हुआ है, ओवर स्पेंडिंग हो रही है, एवरीवन इज स्पेंडिंग लेफ्ट राइट एंड सेंटर, जिसका नतीजा ये है कि कुछ टाइम तक तो ये खुशहाली बरकरार रहेगी, बट एट वन पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम पीपल विल रियलाइज कि कुछ गड़बड़ है। क्या है नाम उसका, दाया कुछ गड़बड़ है, हाँ, दया कुछ गड़बड़ है, राइट। सो पीपल विल देन रियलाइज कि यहाँ तो ये सही नहीं है, क्योंकि दाल 250-300 रुपये किलो हो गई है, चावल इतना महंगा है, टमाटर 250 रुपया किलो, दिस इज़ नॉट हैपनिंग, और सब के सब रुक जाते हैं। They would all stop spending completely, and as a result of that, पूरी इकोनॉमी जो है वो थम पड़ जाती है, राइट। जैसे 2019 के अंदर हमने देखा कि कंपनीज लाइक सुजुकी मोटर्स, टाटा मोटर्स, ये सारी कंपनीज जो है इन्होंने मैन्युफैक्चरिंग बंद कर दिया। They stopped manufacturing cars completely. Why? Because गाड़ियाँ बिक ही नहीं रही थी, वो मैन्युफैक्चर करके करेंगे क्या। It was so bad that they had to give a leave to the factory workers, a week, 10 days every month with pay. आप घर पे बैठो, हम बस आपके नहीं आने से इलेक्ट्रिसिटी, पानी वानी बचाकर थोड़ा बहुत अपना बचत कर लेंगे। That was the situation 2019. फिर कोविड आया, कोविड के बाद थिंग्स स्टार्टेड मूविंग, दैट वाज अ डिफरेंट स्टोरी ऑल टुगेदर, बट दिस इज हाउ रिसेशन हिट्स, राइट। तो जब लोग स्पेंडिंग बंद कर देते हैं, देयर इज अ कंप्लीट ब्रेकडाउन इन द इकोनॉमी, राइट। जब लोग ये एहसास उनको होता है कि अब जो है प्रोडक्शन करके फ़ायदा नहीं है, दे वुड रिड्यूस द प्रोडक्शन और कंप्लीटली स्टॉप द प्रोडक्शन, राइट। जो 1 लाख यूनिट्स दिन में बना रहे थे, अब वो 50,000 बनाएंगे, 20,000 बनाएंगे। जब प्रोडक्शन कम हो गया तो इतने सारे लोगों की ज़रूरत नहीं है। ऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर में तो फिर भी कंट्रोल है चीज़ें, अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर में आउटराइट लोगों को जो है काम से बेदखल कर दिया जाता है, राइट। दे आर कंप्लीट, देयर इज कंप्लीट रिट्रेंचमेंट इवन इन द ऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर। अराउंड 2018-19 वी सॉ दैट लार्सन एंड टूब्रो, इतनी बड़ी कंपनी है, 6 महीने के अंदर, 6 महीने का टाइम देकर 3.5 लाख लोगों को उन्होंने फारिग कर दिया ऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर में, इन स्पाइट ऑफ द यूनियन बाजी, राइट। दैट वाज द सिचुएशन, एंड एज अ रिजल्ट ऑफ दैट इट लीड्स टू unemployment. Now, when there is such high levels of unemployment, as they say, an idle mind is devil's workshop, right? तो ये unemployment के चक्कर में we find that छोटी छोटी crimes से चीज़ें शुरू होती है, शराब, gambling, चोरी चकारी, and this keeps growing into dacoities, right? And a big level crimes. आजकल तो online crimes इतना आसानी से जो हो रहा है, that is, why is that? Because so many people are unemployed and they are looking for ways and means to get some incomes. And then other aspects as well. There are people who start with teasing, eve teasing, etc. But then that grows to rapes, and we see in India, चलती हुई buses में, चलती हुई गाड़ियों में, चलती हुई trains में रेप्स हो जाते हैं, राइट। उबर के अंदर, ओला के अंदर हम देख रहे हैं रेप्स हो जाते हैं, छोटी छोटी बच्चियों का रेप्स हो जाता है। ये पूरा माशरा जो है इस तरीके से एक परेशानी में आ चुका है, केओस और अनार्की हो गया है। और इस सब की वजह क्या है? ये बात शुरू हुई थी सूद से, इंटरेस्ट से, और इस इंटरेस्ट के नतीजे में इन्फ्लेशन, प्रोडक्शन का ड्रॉप, अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट, and it leads to such a lot of anarchy and chaos in our economy, जिसके ताल्लुक से एक पेशन गोई और एक वार्निंग हमें दे दी गई थी कुरान में। अल्लाह सुब्हानहू तआला ने खुद फरमा दिया था कि या अय्युहल्लज़ीना आमनू, ओ ईमान वालो, इत्तकुल्लाह, फियर अल्लाह, राइट, एंड गिव अप, जो भी आपके बकाया है सूद का उसे छोड़ दो, अपना मुद्दल, अपना कैपिटल ले लो, बकाया छोड़ दो, राइट। अगर तुम वाकई में ईमान लाए हो तो, राइट। एंड देन ही सेज इफ यू डोंट डू इट, ये नहीं करोगे तो एक ऐलान जंग अल्लाह और उसके रसूल की तरफ से। राइट? जब शराब की बात आती है, जुए की बात आती है, दूसरे फॉर्चून टेलिंग और शिर्क की बात आती है, तो सूरह माइदा चैप्टर 5 वर्स 90 में अल्लाह सुब्हानहू व तआला फरमाते हैं कि छोड़ दो, ये शैतान के हथकंडे हैं, इसे छोड़ दो। बस अल्लाह ने कहा छोड़ दो, और मुसलमानों ने ऐसा छोड़ा कि उसकी तरफ पलट के नहीं देखा। इल्ला माशाअल्लाह कुछ लोग हैं, बट जनरली स्पीकिंग लोग, वी डोंट ड्रिंक, वी डोंट गैम्बल एज अ ओवरऑल कम्युनिटी, राइट? बट जब सूद की बात आती है तो अल्लाह ने सिर्फ छोड़ दो नहीं बोला, आगे जाकर ये भी बोला, मतलब सिर्फ हुर्मत नहीं, ये भी कि अगर आप इसको नहीं छोड़ते हो तो मेरे और मेरे रसूल की तरफ से एक ऐलान जंग होगी, right? That's how critical this is. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had to use, this is one of the harshest or the most heavy words of the Quran, where Allah says ऐलान जंग from me myself, right? नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की अगर हम बात करें तो हदीस में उन्होंने फरमाया है कि सूद के 70 दर्जे हैं, 7 degrees of interest or riba, and the least amongst them is that you have a man has zina with his mother, right? नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने कड़वी बात कर दी, अल्लाह सुब्हानहू व तआला ने सख्त बात कर ली, तो बात क्या है ये, राइट? शराब, जुआ, ये सब साइड पे, इसके ताल्लुक से बात क्या है कि अल्लाह और उसके रसूल जो है इतने सख्त अल्फाज इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं, बिकॉज दिस इज समथिंग दैट जस्ट नॉट डिस्ट्रॉयज अ इंडिविजुअल बट इट डिस्ट्रॉयज इकोनॉमीज ऑन द होल, राइट? और उसकी वजह से इतनी सख्त जो है इसके ताल्लुक से वार्निंग्स हमें दी जाती है. दैट्स व्हाट इज लीडिंग टू इन्फ्लेशन एज वेल, एंड इन्फ्लेशन इज समथिंग दैट वी नीड टू मैनेज एट आवर एंड, राइट? तो ये इन्फ्लेशन जो महंगाई है और उस महंगाई का हमारे ऊपर जो इम्पैक्ट होता है, इससे इंडिविजुअल लेवल पर बचने का क्या तरीका है, अब हम उस चीज़ को एक्सप्लोर करते हैं. इफ यू कैन गो टू द नेक्स्ट वन. सो वी कम बैक टू द सेम क्वेश्चन, व्हाई शुड यू इन्वेस्ट? द रीजन वी शुड ऑल इन्वेस्ट इज टू, our goals and everything is in place, that's fine. But the reason we should be investing, number one reason, is beating inflation. How do you generate inflation beating returns? So when we talk in terms of maqasid al-sharia, and please correct me because I'm just trying to explain something. So maqasid al-sharia, the reasons of following or giving verdicts, etc., is to preserve, right? Preserve the iman of the Muslims, preserve the health of the Muslims, preserve the wealth of the Muslims, preserve the dignity of the Muslims, right? Am I on the right track? So all of these things, maybe you can delve in this deeper. तो ये सारी चीज़ें जो है ये मकासद है. शरिया इसका मतलब क्या है? एक तरीका, एक रास्ता, राइट? और शरिया नॉर्मली लोगों का ये समझना है कि शरिया का रोल क्या है इस दुनिया में, हमको हर चीज़ को एंजॉय करने से रोको, ये मत करो, वो मत करो, ये मत करो, वो मत करो. मुफ्ती साहब बैठे हुए हैं, फतवे दे रहे हैं और सब कुछ बैन हो जाता है हमारे लिए. नहीं, वैसा नहीं है. द रियलिटी इज द रोल ऑफ शरिया इज टू क्रिएट पाथवेज फॉर यू, क्रिएट वेज फॉर यू कि कैसे आप जो है सर्वाइव कर सके, राइट? सो व्हेन वी टॉक इन टर्म्स ऑफ इन्फ्लेशन, द रोल ऑफ द स्कॉलर्स and the maqasid of preserving your wealth, that's at the forefront when it comes to giving fatwa. उनको पता है कि इन्फ्लेशन आपको तबाह कर रहा है. अब ऐसी सूरत हाल में बैंक में पैसा रखना जायज़ नहीं है, तो ऐसी कौन कौन सी चीज़ें की जा सकती है जो इफ़ नॉट प्योर हलाल, it is something that can be accommodated for the benefit of the Muslims. That's where the scholars come from, right? They are sticking their neck out. ये पूरा माशरा मिलके बोल रहा है. And I'm not talking about Muslims, I'm talking about Muslims as well as non-Muslims. Every person who has some opinion, they hold the opinion that stock markets, mutual funds, all of this is gambling. खत्म. पूरा माशरा. और उस माशरे के सामने हमारे स्कॉलर्स जो है, they are actually sticking their neck out, taking the trouble to say that nahi, that's not the case. There are situations, there are opportunities where you can invest in a Sharia compliant way, right? So ये क्यों कर रहे हैं? क्योंकि ये हमें बचाना चाहते हैं इस इन्फ्लेशन की मार से, right? And other things, not falling into complete riba and so on and so forth, right? So अगर हमारे पास ऑप्शंस हैं इन्वेस्ट करने के, तो शरिया कंप्लायंट तरीके से कहाँ इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं? हम गोल्ड में इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं। आजकल तो गोल्ड आप देख ही रहे हैं कैसे रिटर्न्स दे रहा है। रियल एस्टेट, प्रॉपर्टीज़, दुकान, घर वगैरह में इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं। वी कैन इन्वेस्ट इन व्हाट इज़ नोन एज रेंट टू ओन। आई विल टॉक अबाउट दैट एज वी गो अलॉन्ग। इक्विटी शेयर्स, इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स, कुछ इक्विटी शेयर्स, कुछ इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड में हम इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं। लेकिन जो समझना है हमें मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंटली वो ये है कि इनमें से कौन से एसेट क्लासेस हमें इन्फ्लेशन बीटिंग रिटर्न्स दे रहा है। आज इन्फ्लेशन का रेट क्या है इंडिया में? 10% रियल रेट ऑफ इन्फ्लेशन मैंने बताया, लेकिन गवर्नमेंट क्या आपको बताना चाहती है? इन्फ्लेशन जी 6%। एनी अदर आइडियाज स्टूडेंट्स? न्यूज़पेपर्स पढ़ते रहे भाई, राइट? तो आजकल 6% you are close, but that was quite some time back, 4-5 महीने पहले था। जो लेटेस्ट है, और 5th को वापस नए नंबर्स आएंगे, लेकिन पिछले महीने के जो नंबर्स थे अबाउट 3.5% और 3.7%, राइट? सो 3.7%। लेकिन ये 3.7% जो है वो रियलिटी नहीं बताती है। यू नो, हर गवर्नमेंट, मैं सिर्फ आपके प्रिय मोदी जी की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, राइट? मेरे ने आपके बहरहाल, तो हाँ ठीक है, तो वो मैं सिर्फ उनकी ये गवर्नमेंट की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ। हर गवर्नमेंट इससे पहले अपना इमेज बनाने की कोशिश करती है, और उसमें वो क्या करते हैं? हाउ इज इन्फ्लेशन कैलकुलेटेड? इट्स ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ अ कंज्यूमर प्राइस इंडेक्स, होलसेल प्राइस इंडेक्स एक्सेट्रा। तो इन इंडेक्सेस, इन जो एसेट्स है, इसमें से वो महंगी चीज़ें निकाल देते हैं, राइट? और रिप्लेस कर देते हैं सस्ती सस्ती चीज़ों से। ऑटोमेटिकली इन्फ्लेशन का प्राइस, इन्फ्लेशन का लेवल जो है वो ड्रॉप हो जाता है, और फिर लोग जो है बड़े आसानी से बता देते हैं कि भाई इन्फ्लेशन लो है। आज यूएस का ज़्यादा है, यूके का ज़्यादा है, लेकिन हमारा उनसे कम है। बट द रियलिटी इज़ स्लाइटली डिफरेंट। तो इकोनॉमिस्ट हमें ये कहते हैं इंडिया में कम से कम कि आप वॉट एवर इज़ डिक्लेयर्ड बाय द गवर्नमेंट, उसके ऊपर 5 से 7% आप ऐड कर लीजिए, राइट? अच्छा, दूसरी बात, इन्फ्लेशन इज नॉट अ स्टैंडर्ड थिंग फॉर द एंटायर कंट्री। देर आर सर्टन सिटीज लाइक मुंबई, दिल्ली एक्सेट्रा, जहां पर महंगाई थोड़ा सा बाकी लोगों से ज़्यादा है। अच्छा, इन शहरों के अंदर भी अलग अलग इलाकों में इन्फ्लेशन ज़्यादा होता है, राइट? जैसे एक तो अब 10-11% तो जनरल है, लेकिन अगर आप चले जाएं पेडर रोड, अल्टमाउंट रोड वगैरह, वहाँ पर अंबानीज रहते हैं, वहाँ पर टाटाज रहते हैं, वहाँ पर बिरलाज रहते हैं, राइट? इन इलाकों में पैसा कुछ मतलब नहीं रखता है। तो यहाँ पर इन्फ्लेशन जो है वो 20-22-25% होता है। दूसरे सारे इलाकों में कम रहता है। आप चले जाएं अपने जे मोहम्मद अली रोड, भिंडी बाज़ार, यहाँ पर ज़्यादातर कौन रहता है? मिडिल क्लास में भी ज़्यादातर मियाँ भाई, राइट? ज़्यादातर मुस्लिम्स रहते हैं यहाँ पर। और मुस्लिम्स का जनरली देखें तो एटीट्यूड क्या होता है? वो ज़रा सा नवाबी हिसाब किताब होता है, राइट? तो वो ज़्यादा तोल मोल नहीं करते, वो जो मुंह मांगी कीमत अक्सर लोग दे देते हैं। ठीक है, मैं टैक्सी में सफ़र कर रहा था एक बार, तो वो टैक्सी वाला ही जस्ट वांटेड टू बी वेरी काइंड एंड रिस्पेक्टफुल टू मी। तो वो कैसे रहे? तो वो बोल रहे कि भाई हमारा काम तो है, सिर्फ 2 कम्युनिटीज़ से चलता है, एक तो आप लोग हैं और एक गुजरातीज़ है। मतलब ये लोग टैक्सी, वरना तो मतलब पता नहीं। अच्छा ठीक है, आप बोल रहे हैं तो होगा वैसे ही। मतलब बोलने का मकसद ये है कि सेविंग्स, इन्वेस्टमेंट, ये सब हमारे लिए इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं है, बस खर्च करो, ऐश करो, मज़े करो, नवाब, राइट? सो यहाँ पर इन्फ्लेशन थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा हो जाता है। इफ़ नॉट 20-25%, एटलीस्ट 17-18% चले जाता है। बट जनरली अदर प्लेसेस इट्स ऑल अंडर कंट्रोल। सो फिर भी दैट अंडर कंट्रोल इज़ 11%, राइट? सो मकसद अब ये हुआ कि हमें 10-11% से ज़्यादा रिटर्न्स जनरेट करने हैं ताकि हमारा वेल्थ उसी लेवल पर सस्टेन करे। अगर उतना कर रहे हैं तो हम मैनेज कर रहे हैं, उससे कम है तो वी आर लूजिंग सम अमाउंट ऑफ वेल्थ एवरी ईयर, एंड बहुत ज़्यादा कम है या सेविंग्स है, कुछ नहीं कमा रहे हैं, तो वी आर लूजिंग 10%, 11% every single year, right? So what the rich do is they figure out ways on how to generate returns from different channels of income, and overall they manage to make a substantial 20-30% on their wealth, so that they not just do they stay rich, but they continue growing much beyond what is what they are being hit by, right? So बात अगर हम करें, नहीं रुकिए, तो ये 4-5 एसेट क्लासेस है जिसमें इन्वेस्ट करना है विद कंडीशंस, बट इसमें रिटर्न्स कितना मिल रहा है, क्या वो इन्फ्लेशन बीटिंग है या नहीं, उसको हम अभी चेक कर लेते हैं। या कैन वी मूव ऑन? सो ये मिंट मैगजीन, जो मिंट न्यूज़पेपर आता है डेली, उसके कुछ आंकड़े हैं, और अकॉर्डिंग टू दिस गोल्ड अब आफ्टर ऑल ऑफ दिस जंप, राइट, उसके बावजूद गोल्ड हैज़ हिस्टोरिकली गिवन नेगेटिव रिटर्न्स, राइट, नेगेटिव रिटर्न्स हमेशा देते आया था। चीज़ें बदली है 2008 के बाद। 2008 फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस आया, ग्लोबल फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस, और उसके अंदर ये हुआ कि गोल्ड प्राइसेस इन इंडिया 10 ग्राम्स 7,000 रुपीज़ से बढ़कर कुछ 2-3 महीनों में 24,000 चले गया, राइट? दैट्स व्हेन सडन, व्हाई? बिकॉज पीपल फेल्ट कि ये पूरा निज़ाम जो है, फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम है, वो कोलैप्स हो जाएगा, बैंक्स बंद हो जाएगी, स्टॉक मार्केट्स ख़त्म हो जाएगी, एंड पीपल स्टार्टेड सेलिंग ऑल ऑफ दोज एसेट्स एंड इन्वेस्टिंग इन गोल्ड, राइट? तब 7,000 से 24,000 कुछ महीनों के अंदर, फिर कई साल तक, ये तकरीबन 12 साल 24,000 से 32,000 के बीच में घूमते रहा ये प्राइस, राइट? एंड देन 2019 में यूएस और चाइना का एक ट्रेड वॉर शुरू हुआ, जिसके अंदर लोगों को फिर लगा कि ये सारा कुछ ख़त्म हो जाने वाला है, एंड दैट्स व्हेन दे स्टार्टेड इन्वेस्टिंग एंड टुक द गोल्ड प्राइसेस फ्रॉम 32,000 टू 42,000 इन 2019। कोविड आया, 42,000 से 50,000, 60,000, 58,000 तक गया, then it crashed back to 45,000, but that was the range. Because of all of these movements, CAGR returns, so हम ये annualized returns की बात कर रहे हैं over 30 years, right? The CAGR returns of gold now with all of these inflated prices, it is at 11% annual, right? Rent to own, the companies claim like Rehbar, Assetify, etc., जो operating lease के basis पर काम करते हैं, 8 से 12%, दैट्स द रेंज। रियल एस्टेट, अगर हम रेंटल यील्ड्स की बात करें तो मुंबई के अंदर और बड़े शहरों के अंदर 1 to 1.5% पर एनम हमें रेंट मिलता है, राइट? 1 करोड़ की प्रॉपर्टी अगर है तो अराउंड 1 to 1.5 lakh rupees is the rent that you can generate on them, right? So that's definitely not inflation beating. Yes, अगर आप प्रॉपर्टी के वैल्यूज बढ़ने की बात करें तो ओवर द लॉन्ग टर्म you can expect a return of 13%. म्यूचुअल फंड्स 15% पिछले 30 साल का एवरेज रहा है, और इक्विटी शेयर्स अराउंड 18 to 20% is the average over the few years, right? So यहाँ पर चूँकि इक्विटी शेयर्स और म्यूचुअल फंड्स इन्फ्लेशन बीटिंग है by a margin, right? At Idafa Investments, we focus on that, right? We are not against gold, we are not against real estate, etc. But we see सबसे ज़्यादा मलाई जहाँ मिल रही है वहीं पर focus करें, and that's how, although people at large do not like the idea, but still, क्यों? Why do I keep saying this? जब 1994 हर्षद मेहता scam expose हुआ, actually that was a banking scam, but 94 में हर्षद मेहता का स्कैम, किसने वो सीरीज़ देखा है हर्षद मेहता के स्कैम पर, स्कैम 1992? जी, सोनी पर था, राइट। तो ऐसी चीज़ें देखना इंशाल्लाह मुफ्ती साहब भी अलाउ कर देंगे, नो प्रॉब्लम, राइट? ये इल्म के अंदर इजाफा करता है इंशाल्लाह, राइट? सो यू नो, सो वी कम टू नो फ्रॉम दैट सीरीज that was not actually a Harshad Mehta scam, that was a banking scam. There were loopholes in the banking system. Harshad Mehta used that, right? And around that time, that is the time when I started I started my career, started Idafa Investments, right? So, उस टाइम पर इंडिया के अंदर हाउस होल्ड सेविंग्स को ट्रैक किया जाता है कि हाउस होल्ड सेविंग्स हमारी क्या है, एंड 21% ऑफ द हाउस होल्ड सेविंग्स ऑफ इंडिया was being diverted to the stock markets, mutual funds, etc. right? लेकिन ये स्कैम का जो इम्पैक्ट हुआ लोगों पर, उसका नतीजा ये हुआ कि since then up till COVID times it was less than 3%. राइट कोविड के अंदर लोग खाली बैठे थे तो उन्होंने सोचना शुरू किया और उनको एक ऑप्शन नज़र आया तो दे स्टार्टेड इन्वेस्टिंग, बट अब भी हम 7% के अंदर हैं. Right? So 7% of the household savings in India goes into these kind of structured investments, whereas in the US, 65% of the household savings goes into the equity, mutual funds, stock markets, etc. Right? So that's how we are different. That's how we are we've been left behind, I would say, but that is the situation. So, ये awareness जो है, ये आते आते थोड़ा सा और शायद वक्त लग जाएगा, but that is really crucial, that is important, and that's how we are focusing on this. And how do you now use these tools to beat inflation as well as get yourself at a different level in your lives? So moving on, if we so benefits of equity investments. Here is basically you are a small partner of a large company, right? So there is Tata Consultancy, and yeah, so you can just.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Right. So how do you treat your faithful and loyal monthly income? Right? So everyone who's earning, some of you might not be earning, but you have a pocket money probably, right? So whatever the case be, आप उसको कैसे treat करते हैं, right? So just so that we save some time, let me move on. Some of the payments that we make is, electricity bills, right? लाइट फैन वगैरह ज़रूरत है तो टाइम पर कर देते हैं, ये तो हो जाता है, लेकिन इसका नतीजा क्या है? आप जब टाइम पर बिल्स पे करते हैं तो बॉम्बे के अंदर टाटा पावर, अडानी, राइट, ये लोग जो है इनको टाइम पर पैसे मिल जाते हैं और आप अपने हार्ड अर्न मनी से इन लोगों को अमीर बना देते हैं, राइट? आप टेलीफोन बिल्स, मोबाइल बिल्स, राइट, आपको मतलब आजकल तो मैचेस भी चल रहे हैं, ख़ास तौर पर वुमेंस प्रीमियर लीग और क्या क्या, राइट? सो डेटा की तो ज़रूरत है मैचेस देखने. मैं नेटफ्लिक्स वगैरह की बात नहीं करता हूँ, नॉन कंप्लायंट है, लेकिन वो क्रिकेट मैच तो देखना ही पड़ता है ना, कम से कम. पीछे जो भी चलता हो पता नहीं, बट क्रिकेट मैच तो देखना ही पड़ता है, राइट? सो डेटा एसेंशियल, और उस डेटा के लिए आप जियो, अंबानी, एयरटेल, सुनील मित्तल, बिरला, ये तमाम लोगों को टाइम पर पेमेंट्स कर देते हैं. आपके हार्ड अर्न मनी से ये लोग जो है अपना अमीर बनते जाते हैं. अपने अगर आप रेंट पर हैं तो लैंडलॉर्ड जो हाउस ओनर है उनको आप अमीर बना रहे हैं. स्कूल के महाराष्ट्र कॉलेज को भी अमीर बना रहे हैं, बट बहरहाल दैट्स नॉट व्हाट आई मेंट. बट जनरली स्कूल, आजकल स्कूल की फ़ीस बहुत महंगी हो जाती है. यू नो, देयर आर स्कूल्स इन मुंबई वेयर द ईयर मंथली फीस इज़ 1 लाख रुपीज़, और बाकी सारी चीज़ें ले देकर इट वर्क्स आउट टू अबाउट 18 to 20 लाख रुपीज़ अ ईयर, राइट? तो उस किस्म के, मैं आपकी बात नहीं कर, उस किस्म के स्कूल के मैनेजमेंट को आप अमीर बना देते हैं. बैंक के लोन्स, तो बैंक्स को अमीर बना देते हैं. हाउस होल्ड एक्सपेंसेस जायज़, नथिंग रॉन्ग विद दैट, लेकिन उसमें भी आप डमानी को, टाटास को, बिरलास को, इन तमाम लोगों को जो है अमीर बनाते चले जाते हैं. At what cost? At your own expenses, right? So conveyance and traveling and so on. बॉम्बे में हर रोज 85 lakh people, 8.5 million people travel by local trains में शेख, right? And that just the travelers are more than the population of several countries, right? So that's how it is. Not much, just 10 people, about average 10 people die in this local train related accidents every day. Less than 4,000 people, but 8.5 million people travel every day. They travel, why? Because they are going somewhere to earn money, right? पैसे कमाने जा रहे हैं, लेकिन वो पैसे कमाने के लिए अपनी जान की बाजी लगा कर जा रहे हैं. उनको पता है कि रोज़ाना 10 लोग मारे जाते हैं, फिर भी वो जाते हैं, right? They are suffering, they are putting their life at stake and they achieve this. End of the day हासिल क्या हुआ? आप तो इन लोगों को अमीर बना देते जो पैसे कमाते उससे, तो आपने अचीव क्या किया? And it is from that perspective that we have to look at this concept very closely. That do you pay yourself first? Can we move on? अगर आप बाकी लोगों को पैसे दे देंगे इलेक्ट्रिसिटी, टेलीफोन वगैरह वगैरह में, तो आपने अपने लिए क्या हासिल किया? जो ट्रेन से नहीं जाते वो लोग भी 2-2 घंटा 2 hours one way ट्रैफिक में स्पेंड करते हैं, राइट? एंड इट्स वर्स फॉर पीपल ऑन द बाइक्स एट्सेट्रा. सो इसका नतीजा क्या हुआ? The only way out is that you pay yourself first. And if you pay yourself first, what happens is, अगर हम 50,000 रुपीज़ कमा रहे हैं, उसमें से 40,000 स्पेंड करें, एक 10,000 रुपीज़ हमने सेव कर लिया, राइट? और ये 10,000 रुपीज़ हर महीने बिल्डअप होता है. मैं IRR से नहीं चल रहा हूँ, बेसिक सिंपल कंपाउंडिंग. पता ये चला कि 1,20,000 every year, you keep saving that, investing that. It gives you modest mutual fund 15% return हम लेकर चले. You are making 18,000 plus 1,20,000 next year. You are at 2,58,000. That grows to 4,16,000 next year, and so on. And over a period of 5 years, you have saved 6 lakh rupees, but you are at 8,09,000 rupees next. Keep an eye on the modern returns column. 10 years time, the return for the 10th year alone is 3 lakh rupees, right? And you have invested 12 lakh rupees, you are sitting on 24 lakh 36,000 rupees, right? Very simple 15% mutual fund return. Next, 15 years, you are at 57 lakh rupees. And next, in the 19th year, return itself is 13,65,000. You are at 1 crore rupees. 19 साल 1 करोड़ रुपए, 20 साल में आप 1,22,93,000 के ऊपर पहुंच गए हैं, right? Just the return of the 20th year is 15 lakh rupees, right? So this is how compounding works. Right? अगर हम छोटा अमाउंट हो, चाहे आप कितने लोग सोच रहे होंगे कि क्या बातें कर रहे हैं ये मियाँ, कहाँ से आकर 10,000 रुपया महीना सेव करना है. हमारा तो सैलरी भी 10,000 रुपया नहीं है, तो कोई बात नहीं, जो भी सैलरी हो उसका 10-20% जो है वो इन्वेस्ट करना लाजमी है. इफ़ यू वांट टू बीट इन्फ्लेशन, इफ़ यू वांट टू अचीव समथिंग बिग इन योर लाइफ गोइंग फॉरवर्ड. मोर ओवर, नाउ दिस इज फॉर द यूथ. नेक्स्ट वन, वी आर टेकिंग द एग्जाम्पल ऑफ 3 friends, अमर, अकबर, एंथनी. 3 दोस्त हैं, सेम स्कूल में, सेम क्लास में वो पढ़ते हैं, राइट? दे पास आउट विथ फ्लाइंग कलर्स फ्रॉम द सेम स्कूल, गो टू द सेम कॉलेज, पास आउट विथ फ्लाइंग कलर्स फ्रॉम देयर. दे गो टू द सेम MBA इंस्टीट्यूट, वहाँ पर वो मैनेजमेंट स्टडी करते हैं, राइट? और उसके बाद दे गेट प्लेस्ड एट द सेम प्राइस सैलरी पैकेज इन द सेम कंपनी, राइट? वो बिल्कुल जुदा नहीं होना चाहते. वो मूवी में तो हो गए होंगे, यहाँ दे गो टुगेदर ऑल अलोंग, राइट? एंड देन when they leave, when they join a company, same company, 50,000 का पैकेज है, राइट? राइट, पीछे. So Amar is the smartest one amongst them. तो अमर क्या कर रहा है? From the first salary that he gets, राइट, वो इस तरीके से 10,000 रुपीज़ सेव करना, इन्वेस्ट करना शुरू कर देता है एट 15% सिस्टमैटिक इन्वेस्टमेंट प्लान. लेकिन वो और एक स्मार्ट चीज़ करता है, वो इसको टॉप अप कर देता है 10% से. वो सोच रहा है कम से कम 10% इंक्रीमेंट तो हो ही जाएगा अपना, राइट? तो हर साल वो अपना SIP भी टॉप अप कर देता है 10% से. तो फर्स्ट ईयर 12 months he's giving 10,000 rupees. Next year, 12 months he's now giving 11,000 rupees. The year after that, 12 months he'll be giving 12,100 and so on. Right? तो ये करके तीनों ने decide किया will retire at 55. ये करके he accumulates 14 crore 83 lakh 74,000 rupees by the time he retires. अकबर थोड़ा सा डिसीजन लेने में डिले कर देता है और he starts this at the age of 35, right? 10 साल वो पीछे हो जाता है. Same strategy, but he retires with 2 crore 74 lakh rupees. एंथनी उस वाली मूवी में तो बड़ा हीरो बनता था, but यहाँ he starts the last at the age of 45, right? And with the 10 years that he has to retire with a amount of 39 lakh rupees only. Moral of the story, what is the moral of the story? Start early, right? So as soon as, don't even wait for the job. I would say pocket money, don't worry about it. Pura, आधा, 1/4 of the pocket money उठाकर SIP शुरू कर दो. That's how you will have an edge over others who will be graduating and getting a job along with you, right? So this is the core message that's important for you. This is good enough for the students to start off, right? You have a lot of time until you retire. You have a lot of time to fulfill some goals, etc. But then there are other people who need these things on an urgent basis. Retirement सिर्फ 10 साल दूर है, right? और for that matter बच्चे की शादी करानी होगी 3-4 साल में. एक घर चाहिए urgently 3 साल के अंदर, 5 साल के अंदर, क्योंकि बच्चे बड़े हो गए हो, ये 1-2 BHK वाला काम अब नहीं चलेगा, right? Urgency है. So for urgency, we have a seminar, webinar called Speed Investing. Strategies अलग होती है. SIP will not work for urgent goals, right? So there is something called speed investing. Inshallah, कैसे communicate करें? जब कभी भी होगा, आप लोगों से इंशाल्लाह communicate कर देंगे. You can pass on the details. But speed investing is how do you generate the same 1 crore rupees over the next 3, 5, 7 years, depending. Gear आपके हाथ में, आप gear change करो और goal achieve करो, right? So that's a very practical thing. But फिलहाल के लिए SIP is a good place to begin with. Where can you do it? In India, there is Tata Ethical Fund, which is the oldest Sharia compliant mutual fund in India, started in 1996, right? उसके बाद 2009 के अंदर Taurus Mutual Fund came up with the Taurus Ethical Fund, right? दोनों का performance अच्छा है. And of late, there is Quantum Ethical Fund, December 2024, तब launch हुआ. And if you notice, हर 15 साल में एक शरिया फंड लॉन्च हुआ है, right? 96, 2009 and now 2024. But things will move much faster now, right? So the speed at which funds are getting launched, you'll see compounding happening over there as well. But we have Tata Ethical Fund, we have Quantum Ethical Fund, we have Taurus Ethical Fund, जिसके अंदर SIP करके in a Sharia compliant manner आप जो है इसके इन्वेस्टमेंट कर सकते हैं, right? Next, all right, financial planning. रुक जाए, हाँ ठीक है, it's all right. So we offer some services where we offer financial planning, जिसके अंदर basically we look at your needs, things which are essential, you can't live without them, right? There are wants, next level things, and then there are dreams. So what are the needs and wants? Let's look at them. The needs are basic household expenses, bills, rent, emergency fund, debt repayment, tax planning, all of these. Essential. You can't survive without this. अगर household expenses आपने manage नहीं किया, तो you will be thrown out of the house, right? That's how essential it is. But as soon as this is achieved regularly, month after month, now you can start looking at other things and you have some surplus. So now you can think in terms of your goals, aspirations, and investing for them. You can look at retirement planning, investments, wills, etc., right? If your child at the lowest level, the needs level, is going in a school which is government aided, fees hogi 500,000 rupees. I went to a school St. Sebastian's Govan High School in near the Kabristan, right? 5th standard, my fees was 5 rupees, 6th 6 rupees, 7th, and it went on that way. It was so simple those days. Not too far back, 35 साल पुरानी बात कर रहा हूँ मैं, लेकिन अब you can't even think about that. But फिर भी एक गवर्नमेंट एडेड स्कूल में 500,000 रुपये फीस होती है. अब आपके पास सरप्लस है, योर नीड्स आर टेकन केयर ऑफ, 5-7 हज़ार रुपये सरप्लस है. You can start thinking in terms of a lot of people then want to move their kids from a government aided school to a private school, IG, CSE, IB, ICSE, whatnot, right? So now you are willing to invest in your child's education, 5,000 fees, no problem. And as the surplus increases, you cater to the other aspects of your life. If you are able to, with the surplus, manage all your wants as well, right? आपने घर के लिए भी सेविंग शुरू कर दी, हज के लिए भी सेविंग शुरू कर दी, रिटायरमेंट के लिए भी शुरू कर दी, सब कुछ in line. Now you move to your dreams. How about saving up for an international vacation? How about saving Ferrari? बॉम्बे में कौन फेरारी चलाता है? लेकिन how about going to Mauritius and learning how to do scuba diving, right? There is a friend of mine who goes to 20,000 feet above the ground and he jumps from there. ऐसे किसी दिन पैराशूट नहीं खुला तो ऊपर ही ऊपर से जन्नत हो जाएगी आपकी. जैसे नहीं मैं 2 लेकर चलता हूँ, so just in case plan B होता है हमारे पास, right? So crazy things, people do crazy things, they have their dreams. You can accommodate those dreams as well in your SIPs. One SIP for one goal, right? That's how it works. So we do this. You can move on. There is a service that we offer. There is an annual engagement of 10,000. That's all fine. ठीक है, आगे बढ़ेंगे. And these are the services that we offer at Idafa Investments. Move next. And these are some other products that I was talking about. So one of them being Assetify. What they do is operating lease. So you can be on both sides of the coin, right? You could either be an investor and earn around 10%. 10.5% was the latest returns they had given was around 10.5% per annum, but you can earn around 10% per annum in this, the minimum investment being 5 lakhs. Next you have something, next. All right, you can also be on the other side, next, on other side of the coin, wherein you can be a borrower, right? You need a car, you need a bike, you just go to them, they will do a check on your background check, and the investments that they have accumulated, on that they would then give you a bike, car, hospital equipments. People take factory machinery, etc., give a rent on that. The company collects that rent, retains 25% of it, and passes on 75% to you. That 75% is around 10%, right? So that's Assetify. On the same lines, there is Rehbar Group, which besides operating lease, as I just discussed, they also offer profit and loss sharing loans on basically a different kind of contracts that they would have. Next. We have next again. We also have Motilal Oswal, which has come out with a ethical PMS scheme, portfolio management service, right? So it's called the Motilal Oswal Ethical Strategy. The minimum investment here is 50 lakhs. So we can invest in an SIP as much as 150 rupees. to 500 to 1000, 5000, etc. 150 रुपए से भी हम शुरू कर सकते हैं. And on the other side of the spectrum, we have investments where the minimum investment SEBI regulated alternative investment funds, जिसके minimum investment जो है वो 1 crore rupees होता है, right? So the entire spectrum is there. You can choose wherever you are comfortable. And we also have a tie-up with Angel One at Idafa Investments. So if you go to Angel One through Idafa Investments, we would be able to monitor and help you go ahead with Sharia compliant investments. And that's a course, but we'll talk about this some other day, inshallah. We have Idafa School for Financial Freedom, where we offer free seminars, paid courses, etc. One of those courses is this 1 crore formula on how do you start with speed investing and achieve your 1 crore rupees at least in the next 5 to 7 years. Right? So that's all from my side. Question and answers later on, inshallah. Right, perfect. Jazakallah khair. Barakallah feek.
Sir, as I called your name, at that time only I don't know why did I say thank you very much. But now I realize that some things are like divine. You cannot justify why it happened. But it all of a sudden came to my tongue and I said thank you very much. And I realized, I felt like that, should I have said this? But now I am confident when I am back here that even without listening to you, that thank you very much, you deserved it 100%, 1000%. The knowledge that you have, the experience that you have, and if my memory is not deceiving me, so I think I had listened to one of your lectures in 2004 in Bhindi Bazaar. So nothing has changed, sir. Rather, it has grown up. May Allah increase you in knowledge more and more. Thank you very much for your valuable suggestions and guidance. There is an Arabic poet, sir. His name is Ahmad Shauqi. And as I was listening to your lecture, so I recalled his couplet in which he had said, Bil ilmi wal mali yabni nasu mulkahum. Bil ilmi wal mali yabni nasu mulkahum lam yubna mulkun ala jahlium wa iqlali. इसको अमीरुल शुअरा कहा जाता है, पिछली सदी का बहुत बड़ा शायर है. वो कहता है कि नॉलेज और पैसे के ज़रिए आप अपना मुल्क बना सकते हो. मुल्क का मतलब शान व सतवत, तरक्की कर सकते हो, हुकूमत कायम कर सकते हो. याद रखो कि हर चीज़ की कमी का रोना रोकर और जाहिलियत के ज़रिए कभी तुम्हारा मुल्क नहीं बनेगा, कभी तुम्हें शान व सतवत हासिल नहीं होगी. सो थैंक यू वेरी मच सर. नाउ इट इज़ टाइम फॉर अस. इवन Ashraf Mohammadi sir referred Mufti Sahab again and again. Yes, you guessed it right. Dr. Faisal Ahmad Manju sir, who is CEO of Minara Consulting Limited. Sir, now I request you, the mic is yours now, the stage is yours. Thank you very much. Sir, just 1 minute. Again, I committed the same mistake. Actually, we are so eager to listen to you, we forget this point in between. I request Hamza Idrus of FYBMS to please come here and introduce Dr. Faisal Ahmad Manju sir to us. Hamza.
Assalamu alaikum. A warm welcome to one and all present here. Myself, Hamza Mudassir Idrus from FYBMS. It's a great honor and privilege to introduce Dr. Fazal Ahmad Manju, a highly distinguished and internationally recognized scholar, academician and Sharia expert whose work has significantly shaped the field of Islamic jurisprudence, comparative law, ethical finance across multiple jurisdictions. Dr. Manju's professional journey is marked by a rare, exceptional and dual legal expertise. He is formally trained in common law as well as Islamic law, holding an LLB as well as PhD in ethical finance from the University of Gloucestershire. Along with the traditional Islamic scholarly qualification of Alim Fadil, the unique academic foundation enables him to successfully bridge classical Islamic legal thoughts with contemporary legal, finance and regulatory system, an ability that places him at the forefront of global Islamic finance scholarship. With more than 25 years of multidisciplinary and international experience, Dr. Manju has made profound contribution to Islamic finance, Sharia governance, Takafful and Retakafful. He is widely recognized as a global standard setter, having active experts advise to central banks, financial regulators, international institutions, and even high courts in various countries. His work reflects a deep understanding of both theory as well as practice, allowing him to offer solutions that are academically rigorous and practically viable. In the academia sphere, Dr. Manju currently serves as a lecturer at Markfield Institute of higher education in the United Kingdom. Alongside his role as visiting academia at Financial Business School in Paris and associate tutor at Cardiff Metropolitan University. Beyond academia, Dr. Manjo plays a vital role in Islamic finance industry. He currently serves on multiple international Sharia boards across Europe, Africa, the Middle East, and India, and is the CEO of Minara Multi-Consulting Limited in the United Kingdom. Through these roles, he provides strategy guidance on Sharia governance, product development, ethical compliance, and institutional design. We are deeply honored to have such a distinguished personality with us today. Please put your hands together and give a warm welcome to Mr. Fazal Ahmad Manjo. Over to you, sir.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Before I start, I just want to make a request. Can you stand up, please? Stand up. Because you have been sitting for 1 hour. Make some movement, relax a bit. Yeah, it's a psychological treat in pedagogy, we call it. Yeah, you can make some movement. Yeah, is that okay? The pain in the back is less. Yeah, all right. Okay, sit down. Okay. Okay, it was nice to stand up a bit. Yeah. All right. So when I look at the title, there are a few words that was of interest to me. The title of the theme. The first one was international. Remember, I was sitting where you're sitting before, 30 years ago. I had the same worry. What am I going to do in my life? Yeah. And born in Mauritius, the place where you go for your honeymoon. You can plan that right now and start investing with Izafat for that honeymoon. And then I went to South Africa. I spent 17 years. I want to highlight one important point here. Money, everybody likes money. But Rasulullah says in a hadith to this effect that there are two group of people who are never satisfied. A seeker of knowledge and a seeker of wealth. I think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through the dua of my parents, my asatiza, my friends, I incline towards knowledge. Those who know I have got 10 degrees in different areas. I did 3 masters, right? And I can still continue. I just finished another course now on digital marketing, right? And then I'm doing another course now for a step. For those who want to make money, another degree, you must think seriously, following what Brother Muhammadi has said is Society of Trust and State Planner. I'll come to that. It's a very prestigious course. It's worldly recognized, and there are only 22,000 in the world. So you can become a member, you advise people in investment. Investment is not for every Tom, Dick and Harry. You got to be regulated, and you are regulated, so you take more advice from Brother Muhammad. So this is me. I always want to study, and I'm fit to be your grandfather. I'm 66 years old. I'm still a student. So this is why I say there are two groups of people, right? And I got another PhD in the pipeline, a regulatory framework for digital economy, right? So it's just boils in me. People ask me why you want to study. It's a hadith of Rasulullah that it's something pushes me to study. And the more you study, the more Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open your way. So when I say 30 years I was sitting where you were sitting, I know what I'm saying. You got to make your journey. You got to make your journey to be a lifelong student. A lifelong student doesn't mean to accumulate degrees. No, it's study always, study. And when you study, whatever field it is, science, technology, artificial intelligence, jo bhi ho, whatever you want to study, always put the Quran by you. Because like the verses quoted early on, everything in the Quran, you will get inspiration. Now when I look at the chapter, the 3 words that really attracted me is international. You want it or not, India is becoming a superpower. By 2027, it will become the biggest economy in the world. You want it or not. That's the reality. It started already. You have seen Modi ji was in Germany recently. And the greatest thing that really attracted me is, in the past, 30 years ago, we had to go abroad to meet the people. Now the people are coming here. Keir Starmer was here. Macron was here. Think what I'm saying. Think what I'm saying. the civilizational change that is happening. Why? Why this civilizational change is happening? Because one of the reasons is a transfer of money. 50 years ago, 100 years ago, when Keynes came with his theory, monetary theory of how do you run the economy, then the Great Depression of the USA, 1920, 1930, the Bretton Woods Agreement, and the removing by Nixon of issuing money based on your gold, all these things have gone now. We are talking a new age, the age of digitalization, the age of financial economy. I need to explain this to you to understand, to follow what Brother Muhammadi is saying about this investment. In the time of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, we had, this is not in my slides, when I'm looking at the audience, this came to my mind. In the time of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, we had what we call a real economy. What does that mean? A real economy is when you are dealing with assets, that asset got an intrinsic value. For example, you take this bottle of water, right? You are India, it has a value. You go to England, it has a value. You go in the Himalaya, it got a value. You go in the North Pole, it has a value. Because the value is in this thing. Everybody understand that. So you wanted a camel in the town slum, you got that. You got a real value. But what has happened from the time of Keynes and up to Altman, we see a major change. The financial intermediaries, that is banks, insurance companies, etc., have overtaken the world market. You can't run away from it. There is a whole report by the Bar Council of Germany on that. There's no time to go into the details. So we are faced with financial intermediaries who try to get those who got money in excess, develop product to get their money, and use this money to give it to those who need it. And this is where we are using what we call, I think many of you have studied accounting under the IAS, I think section 9, where you use financial instruments, shares, bonds, ETFs, check, insurance policies. All these are financial instruments. What does that mean? It means it's a financial contract which gives a financial asset to one party of the contract. To the other party is a liability or equity. This is exactly what Brother Muhammadi has explained. I'm putting it in a more academic way for you. Let us say, for example, you want to raise money on the stock market. You issue shares, all right? This share in itself, what it is, a piece of paper. It's a document. It has no value in itself. Unlike this water, it has no value. It's the law, listen to me properly, it's the law that gives it value. Maybe the Companies Act, etc. All right? It's a law that gives it value, and this is where we are talking about Islamic finance in today's time. How do you make a legal construction of those documents to go forward? Right? Let me example. You got an insurance policy for your car. What is happening there? You are paying a premium. In exchange of the premium, you're going to be indemnified. There is nothing tangible there. Everything is intangible. A government wants to raise, say, $1 billion. They issue bonds. What is happening there? You are giving the money. You are going to receive an asset. What is this asset? You're going to get interest plus the capital. And the government has created a liability. So this bond becomes a financial instrument. This is where we have to differentiate the world we are living in today's time. But I'm going one step further than a financial economy. We are talking about a digital economy. That will be mind-boggling in the next 20, 30 years. Especially when the quantum computer will take over. AI will be obsolete. Just like AI made Google obsolete, now with the quantum computer, AI will become obsolete. The information will go so fast. How do we integrate in this type of economy? What type of investment are we talking? Which direction the world is going? These are the type of thought that you people will have to think for yourself. Where do you want to be in the next 10 years? That is the way you got to look at your studies in the next 10 years, where you want to be, what you have to study, how are you going to upskill yourself so that you are not obsolete in the market. By the time you qualify, most probably you will be obsolete because there will be so many theories, so many regulations out there. So how are you going to be fitting into that? And believe me, my beloved children, I call you my children, you are fit to be my grandchildren also. One thing is for sure, I'm giving this advice to you from the depths of my heart. If you cannot innovate, you are obsolete. If you cannot innovate, you don't have this critical thinking, that capacity to integrate in the market, you will have difficulties. So you have to develop critical thinking. This is another pedagogy, there's no time to go in that. You must be able to think outside the box, to create, to innovate things so that you can maintain your job. With AI, right, we're looking about 300 million people will lose their jobs this year. Globally, I'm talking, right? So what is your possibility? I'm not being negative here. I'm just being positive, the way forward. So this is where, when I'm talking about international, the title international, think from international perspective, you have to look at the world as a global world. It's a globalized world that we are living in. There is a concept of universalism. Universalism means the law are going to be standardized. The law are going to be standardized. Okay? And this is where Islamic law of investment will have to fit in. Because, listen to me properly, very important. This morning we were talking about Islamic finance. Any idea what is the value of Islamic finance in the world right now? What are the figures? The total industry? 3 trillion. Any other figures? We are moving towards 4+ trillion now, right? It took 75 years to reach, say, 4 trillion. Do you have any idea how much is Forex per day? Per day. Forex exchange, foreign exchange per day. You can check it on your mobile if you wish. 7 trillion per day. So your Islamic finance is a drop in the ocean. But, according to Pew report, by 2030, the global Muslim population will be how much? 31%. 2 billion plus minus. Does 4 trillion matches 2 billion? No way. Under no circumstance this matches. The demand is so high, but the supply is so limited, and because there is no economies of scale, we do not have competitive pricing, right? You go to Islamic bank and a conventional bank, the Islamic bank will be 2% more, right? People start asking, why is this, right? So the opportunities for you people, sky is a limit, but you need to be innovative. If you are not innovative, it will be difficult to integrate on the global market. So this is where I think the people who came up with the title of international investment, they had this global vision that where you need to position yourself in the next 10, 15 years, you got to plan now. All right. So this was a very brief analysis of the title that went into my mind when I was looking at coming here first time. Alhamdulillah. So let's become with my topic now. Can you work on? So my topic is ethical investment, Sharia compliant mutual fund pathways for tourism wealth creation. Next, please. Right. So what I'm going to cover very briefly, understanding ethical investment versus Islamic investment. That's the first part. And the second part is strategies for conversion, what you call ESG, which is a very big thing now. The environmental, social, and governance issue versus Islamic investment. So two main aspects I'm going to deal with. Next. So first of all, what is ethical investment? Now that is, we can talk hours and hours on that. Do you have an idea what is ethical investment? I know there was an introduction here, but what is the origin of it, the ontology of it? You see, if you go in the 18th century in the US, they were good Christians. Understand that properly. There is a whole book on that by Hugh Romani, Islamic Wealth Management. Those who want to read, they can go. Good Christians like the Quaker, the Methodist, they say, we are not going to invest in alcohol. We are not going to do this. We are not going to do this. And you have to appreciate Christianity as well to a certain extent, that we're talking about theology in Christianity. Theos logos, the Latin word, love for the study of God, right? And the foundation of Christianity is what? Is love. Isn't it? Love is a foundation. Okay? And how out of love do we save the world? How out of love we invest in such a way that we do not harm society? That was the underpinning. And then we see in the 1960s, the word ethical is being used again, right? And this is how, when the Islamic finance started developing, we started talking about ethical. That's the first point you understand where this comes from. The second point, which I would like to highlight, is besides being ethical, there is also the Sharia part that we need to look into. Islamic finance started, have any idea when modern day Islamic finance started? 1970s? No. Prior to that, the first institution as we know it today was 1963, Tabung Haji in Malaysia. Then 1964 we had, and that is very, very important, it was in Egypt, we had Mirgham Bank. Mirgham Bank was set up by who? Very important to understand. Mirgham Bank was set up by the German. Yes, for the farmers. Then 1975, so we had the Islamic Development Bank. The first Islamic bank was the Dubai Islamic Bank, 1975. So as a student of Islamic finance, we got to understand the evolution of the concept, how it came, right? So nowadays, it has come for 4 trillion plus minus, all right? So when we talk about ethical investment and why do we need this concept, it's very important that when we talk about I'm just confining it according to the title given to me. We're talking about in modern context due to a lot of regulations, right? A lot of regulations. Ethical investing, also called ESG investing in today's time, means putting your money into companies that align with your values. Instead of just looking at profits, you also consider whether a company's business practices match what you believe is right. I will give you an example about greenwashing. Have you heard about greenwashing? People are using ESG, some hotels for example, they are telling you we are ESG against pollution, blah, blah, blah. But in fact, they are using it as a marketing tool. They are not really following what the law says. So this is known as greenwashing. And that's the problem, that big law firm, big investment firm are not endorsing greenwashing, okay? So when we look at the criteria for investing, we look at environmental responsibility, social justice, good governance, and Sharia compliance. This is what we're looking at in today's time for this conference. There are far more to speak, but this is what we are looking. When we're going to invest, to what extent does that impact on the environment? For example, you got Islamic bank. A person wants a mortgage to buy a house, all right. One has a solar panel, the other one doesn't have a solar panel. ESG would require that the Islamic bank finances a solar panel because less emission, okay, gas emission. Social justice, again, when we look at Islamic finance, Allah says in the Quran, وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَى. All right? Allah has permitted transactions, but has prohibited riba. Why? I give you an example to contextualize this issue. I'm just dramatizing it here. The Arab came to Rasulullah sallam, say, Ya Muhammad, you say this is 10 dirham. Right? And the way I get it, there are 2 ways. I can buy it for 12 dirham by the shopkeeper, or somebody gives me 10 dirham and put 20% riba on it. Both are 2 dirham extra. What is the difference? Where is the difference there? Do you understand the question? Yeah? Do you understand the question? This is what Allah is saying in the Quran. So where is the difference between the person who gives you 10 and asking you 12, and the person who bought it for 10 and selling it to you for 12? The 2 is profit, the other 2 is riba. Where is the logic in there? That's the question that was asked to the Prophet ﷺ. And Allah categorically say, no, transaction is permissible, riba is not permissible. And this is very important to understand. I would say 90% of people who are in the field don't understand the rationale behind it. It was a great jurist from Andalusia, Ibn Arabi rahmatullah alayhi, who explained that. And please write it down, it will help you in your life to understand the difference between Islamic finance and conventional finance. The first one is, Rasulullah says in a hadith, al-kharaj bi-daman. When you do a transaction, the person who is selling it must take the responsibility. Daman means if there's something wrong in the commodity, he has the responsibility to carry that liability. The second one is a legal maxim, al-ghurm bil-ghurm. That is no pain, no gain. In other words, the risk element you take. The third one is al-kasb. That is the effort you put in the transaction. All 3 are economic activities, and economic activities must be compensated. Is that okay? You understood that? So when we talk about all those explanations, Brother Muhammad explained, we invest in this, you have to understand why the halal element and why the haram element, the rationale behind it. These are the 3 fundamental elements that we need to keep in mind. The first one is the hadith of Salam, al-kharaj bi-daman. The second one, al-ghurm bil-ghurm. The third one is al-kasb. I don't have time to go in that theory of profit, but this is the fundamental difference we have to appreciate in running Islamic economic model and a conventional economic model. The conventional economic model is 100% based, the spinal cord of it is riba. Any modeling you are making, there will be riba coming in the formula. Whereas the Islamic one is the antithesis of that. It is completely prohibited. So when we talk about social justice, like Brother Muhammad explained earlier on, the rationale for facing inflation is the riba that is injected into the economy. Next, please. So you get governance. Again, when you talk about governance, there's a big theory behind it. I won't have time to go in detail, but those who can read King Report, you will understand. Governance means in the past is how do you look after the shareholders in economy. In today's time, we're looking at the stakeholders, the investors, the clients, the children of the workers, the employees. All the things comes under governance, and you must have procedures for that. And also the last one was Sharia compliance. This is where we look at certain elements, prohibition of riba, prohibition of certain elements which are prohibited when you invest, which you know by now, no excessive uncertainty, gharar, what we call gharar. Now, why gharar is important? That is something I have to explain to you. The element of uncertainty is very deep. Professor Najatullah Siddiqui rahmatullah alayhi said clearly the most difficult part is to identify gharar. Gharar means when you enter into the hadith of Rasulullah is Naha Rasulullah sallallahu an bay' al-gharar. He didn't go in detail, he just prohibited it. The ulama explained why gharar is not permissible, because it leads to niza. That's the underpinning. Unnecessary litigation in court, wasting money, creating acrimony. But gharar itself, Rasulullah did not define it. Riba has been defined, but gharar has not been defined. So Allama, so many people, Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullah alayhi, Al-Mabsut, Allama Sarakhsi, etc., has given a lot of definition. The level of uncertainty, there's a beautiful paper written by Sami Suwailam, who is the director of Islamic Development Bank, on gharar. He divided gharar into 3 parts. Again, you got to understand that. The first one is gharar, a fahish, that is excessive uncertainty in a transaction. This is why insurance is not permissible. Why? You don't know when you're going to make the accident, for example, what is the quantum of damages, for example, for how long we have to. It is excessive. Then you got gharar yasir. You go to the shop, you want to buy a bunch of grape, and one grape is rotten there. You are not going to make a fuss out of it. That is tolerable. There is a third one which we are discussing is gharar mutawassit. That is a middle path of uncertainty. Now this demands some mathematical formula. We are not going to discuss that. So this is what Sharia is telling you. When we are going to invest, to what extent do we look at the gharar element? He mentioned the SMART formula. Now there are others, you can have PISL and so on. We are not going to go into the details, but that's a good starting point. The fundamental principle I want you to understand when we discuss those things, he mentioned Maqasid Sharia. Why Sharia was given to us? That's a question. This question was raised by Allama Jawaini, rahmatullah alayh, who was the teacher of Imam Ghazali. And later on this was formalized by Allama Shadbi in his book Al-Muwafaqat, which are 3 volumes. Recently in the 1970s, from Tunisia, there was another great scholars also who came, and he started developing it very vast. And the highest authority, in my humble opinion, presently living is Jasir al-Awda. You can get his book online, right? It is such a huge, important theory that has been developed that must be inculcated into your syllabus, in my opinion. One of the reasons Sharia was given to us is Hifzul Mal, protection of your wealth. We are going to be questioned on the day of Qiyamah, how we receive it, how we protected it, how we spend it. So this is where Hifzul Mal becomes very important when we look at the philosophy of investing under Sharia. I'm going to talk about certain principle later on. So when we talk about it, very important, the profit and sharing, again what I told you, Al-Kharaj bi-Zaman, I mentioned earlier on, is sharing of the loss and the profit as well. It is more equitable economically speaking. Last point I want to raise, that I need 4 or 5 hours to talk. The element of debt. Let us take the case of USA. The GDP of USA is about 145 trillion. And how much is the debt? 37 trillion. Per day they're paying, the interest rate they are paying is not sustainable. We talk of billions per day. Do you see what we are talking here? How long are we going to create those figures on the computer? How long? This is why when we talk about Islamic finance, there are 2 ways of it. Let us visualize a pyramid, right? At the bottom you got debt. A debt which is sustaining the economy. It's not going to be sustainable. After 10 years you have to crush it and rebuild the economy. The other one, which is Islamic one, is real economy at the bottom, a little debt on top, that you can sustain that debt. Unfortunately, everything is disappearing with the debt market. This is why in Islamic finance, we are talking about asset-backed financing. We are not talking about debt-backed financing. This is a fundamental difference. Because under Sharia, debt is not a commodity. Understand that. Debt is not a commodity. Right? If there's a need, we raise debt. Right? If you study, for example, let us take the case of zakat. On what do you pay zakat? On what type of asset we pay zakat? Everybody pays zakat, right? It's a fundamental of Islam. It is those assets that have the capability to grow, right? That is those assets that you pay zakat. And if you keep on paying zakat without investing it, what happens? You're going to become poor. So Allah indirectly is giving you a message. These assets that you have, invest it for it to grow. In the time of Umar bin Khattab radiallahu ta'ala, there were 2 orphans. The collector of zakat was keep on going every year collecting the zakat. But there was no investment of that. When Umar radiallahu ta'ala heard about it, he was upset. He says, zakat will eat this. That is not the purpose of zakat. So the whole idea of zakat is you got to invest the asset for it to grow. We have to understand that. Okay? So when we're talking about debt, it is the antithesis of what the Islamic economic model is about. Next, please. Now, what is the shared values of Islamic finance and ethical, or ESG? So you can see in the ethical investment, we are talking about personal values, whereas under Sharia, it's not personal values, it's what the Sharia religious values are. Right? For example, with personal values, there's a lot of subjectivity. You can think something is ethical, somebody think it's not ethical. Let us take the case of alcohol, for example. Some people tell you drinking a little is good for your health. It warms you up, right? That's it. Quran doesn't go into detail. Quran says harm is haram. End of the story. Yeah. So there is no opportunity to put our desires into that. This is why Allah says in the Quran, أَرَيْتَ الَّذِي مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ. Have you not seen those people who have taken the desires to be their deity, their Lord? So when we're investing, we do window shopping because deep in our heart, we want something. We are not looking at what Sharia says. We are Muslim, but it must tweak a bit that investment, that fatwa must be a bit in our favor because I want to have 1% more, right? So we have to consider all the things when we invest. When we talk about Sharia compliant investment, it is religiously guided. And the Fuqaha Kiram have invested a lot of time to do that. I remember Sheikh Taqi Usmani Saab came to England, right? He came to England and he told us it took him about 2 years to give jawaz for the concept of murabaha. Murabaha is a system of sale. Say for example, this is 10 rupees. As I want to sell it to you, I tell you I'm making 1 rupee profit. That is murabaha, for the ribhun, which means profit, right? But in today's time, it's no more a sale. You want to buy a car, it's becoming a financial mode. They're financing it. It's not immediate buying and selling. So we do the selling, but becoming a financial instrument. Is that jaiz? Does that fit into it? So the fuqaha really put a lot of effort to give us all those criteria for investment, all those criteria to set up Islamic banks, microfinance, takaful, retakaful, financial market. A lot of effort has been put. To such an extent that we have nowadays institutions worldwide at international level, like you have the AOIFI in Bahrain, one of the committee member there. You have the IFSB, for example. AOIFI gives you accounting standards. So for those who want to go in that area, there is a course called SIPA, right? Chartered Islamic Professional Accountant, SIPA. It's about $1,800, right? That enables you to do. So once your course, you can become an ACCA, then you do that, you specialize in accounting. You want to become a Sharia scholar, there's a Sharia standard. If you want to do regulation, you go to IFSB, the Islamic Financial Services Board. They do only regulation. This is a very important area as well for your career, right? And if you want to drafting contracts and so on, you can go to IIFM, International Islamic Financial Market, right? They issue the most elaborative report on sukuk, that Islamic bonds, years time or 5 years time. All right. So we have to understand these things. Next, please. Now, if you look at the recent performance of the ethical, right? So you can see that in 2023, sustainable funds delivered a medium return of 12.6 versus 8.6 for traditional funds. You can also find that in 2023, I don't have the latest data, sustainable funds saw a medium return of 6.9. You can read all the things. I can make this available to you. Now, what is important here is about 61% of ESG funds, that is those people who are investing in environmental projects, social projects, and governance projects, demonstrated weak performance and underperformed relative to their sector peers, right? Highlighting the need for careful fund selection, right? So that is something where we have to be very careful about the investment, the performance of it. At times, we get, for example, Brother Muhammadi mentioned earlier on the global financial crisis in 2008. There is a research paper written by Omar Chapra, Professor Omar Chapra, very great Muslim economist, and Professor Habib, very great economist they just got the King Faisal IDB award about 2 years ago from Durham University. They carried a survey, what you call the contagion effect. That is, when the global financial crisis happened, many banks closed down, as you know, those who remember. But not a single Islamic bank closed down. Why? Because of those ethical values, those Sharia values, do not invest in haram, what's called toxic bonds, etc., etc. So those religious issues got its advantages as well. Next, please. Looking at the growth element, okay, you will find that ethical investment, see, you can see, next please, go. Next. Right? You will find that the Dow Jones Islamic World Total Return Index gained 12.98% annualized over the last 10 years through March 2023, while the broader MSCI, which is another index we use for investment, rose by 11.63, which is very good, to be honest with you, in terms of indices. You will find that Sharia compliant assets double, on the other hand, 60.4 billion and 30.3 billion compared to February 2013. That shows that Islamic finance is growing. I come back to my original statistics I gave you. Muslim population will be 31% world population very soon, but the amount of money for that 2 billion is peanuts. 4 trillion is nothing compared to Forex, which is about 7 trillion per day. All right? So we have to understand, you are the next generation. Me, I got already 1 foot in the qabr. I don't know for how long I'm to live. But you are the future. You got to think, how can you contribute? How can you innovate? How can you push this industry forward? How can you go beyond the barriers that you see? That is your work. I'm giving you your homework for the next 10 years. All right? So in Malaysia, the FBM Sharia Index, as well, you can see the statistics. I can make this available to you. Next, please. I'm worried about time. I've got only 20 minutes left. Next. Now, how do we converge the ESG that we are talking, the ethical investment and the Sharia investment? So you have what you call the integrated Islamic and ethical investment. There are core foundation shared values. One is they too want ethical. We too want ethical. We don't want to harm the industry. We don't want to abuse on workers. We want proper governance. They too want it. Okay. Sustainability focus. We want not only we benefit, but for the next generation to benefit. And this is extremely important. There is a whole module I teach at master's level in England on that. In the time of Umar bin Khattab radiallahu ta'ala, when he conquered Persia, listen to me properly. When Umar bin Khattab radiallahu ta'ala conquered Persia, the Mujahideen was asking, okay, where is Amal Qadimat for me? I participated. Where is it? Umar bin Khattab radiallahu ta'ala refused to give it to them. But they say, but Ya Umar, the Prophet gave it to us. Abu Bakr gave it to us. Why you don't want to give it to us? Think about the vision of Umar bin Khattab radiallahu ta'ala. He said, you are the Quraysh. If you start going to do farming in Persia, who will look about the bigger picture? And what will happen for the next generation? Look at the vision of Umar bin Khattab radiallahu ta'ala. He had a vision, a sustainable economy for Persia. And that is the type of thing that we got to understand. What the world is talking today about sustainability, Umar bin Khattab radiallahu ta'ala has spoken about it 1400 years ago. But we don't want to follow that. Yeah. So when we talk about sustainability in terms of environment, in terms of our workforce, in terms of governance, is how the next generation, we benefit from it, and the next generation also benefit. That is what sustainability is about. The next one is wealth creation, which was the first speaker spoke about. Because if we are not going to invest now, the purchasing power of the money we have will depreciate, because we have moved towards a financial economy, right, where we use financial instruments, which doesn't have value in itself. The law gives it value. You can manipulate it. It doesn't have value. For example, if I take, for example, I just give you an example for argument's sake, right? This is 10 rupees, right? This is 10 rupees for argument's sake. I go to England. What am I going to do with that? I can't get anything with this. Nobody will take this in England. It has no value. You follow what I'm trying to say? This is what we are talking about, financial instrument. I want to invest in stock market, right, in England. What this has to do with you here? Because the law will regulate all those things. You follow what I'm saying? So when we talk about the financial economy, these instruments, as I mentioned, when you look about wealth creation, Sharia says it must be in such a way that it is asset-backed economy, it has intrinsic value, it has also the ESG as well into it. So this is where we are converging that. So our work today, if you go to Turkey, you go to Nigeria, I've been to all those places, we are no more using the word Islamic. We are using the word ethical, we are using the word participative. This is the terminology is being used. Why? Because Islamic finance is not only for Muslims. Like the director said earlier on, it's for everybody to benefit from it, because by nature of the Islamic finance, it is justice. Al-Kharaj bil-Taman, Al-Ghulm bil-Ghurm, Al-Kas, as I explained earlier on. That's the nature of it. Maybe first year you lose, second year you are bound to break even, third year definitely you're making profit. There is no uncertainty in that. There is a pathway. You can look at the figures and you start investing. All right? So this is what we are bringing at the core foundation between ethical investment and Sharia. So we have the ethical principles, the sustainability focus, and wealth creation. Next, please. Now, what are the 5 pillars for wealth creation? Okay. Number 1 is, you got to understand, when you create wealth is halal equity investment in tech, healthcare, renewable energy. This is where we are going. I don't want to take the name of the country. We're looking at a very big project now, which is beyond the wind, the energy we develop through wind. You know the waves in the ocean. You got kinetic energy in that. I mean, those who study science will know. So energy, you can convert it from kinetic to various type of energies. So how can we convert that energy from the waves, which will be captured, converted, and will go in the grid system? Involves billions. In the same way, we are looking in where the equator is, like in Morocco, for example. How can we convert the solar energy, convert it into electricity, and save it in Europe? So there's so much ways which are 100% halal. We don't have to run other places. These projects can be developed here as well. Yeah. So we're looking at these are areas, halal equity. This is what Sharia wants. Sheikh Taqi Usmani, Dhamma Barakatum, in his book, very famous book, Introduction to Islamic Finance, he clearly explained that. And even Professor Manzar Kahaf also mentioned that in his writing. The whole idea of Islamic finance is equity-based, mudaraba, musharaka, and is to back the real economy, global warming, etc. So they wanted to plant about 1 million trees to attract the carbon dioxide from the environment, and as you know, the tree will release the oxygen. I don't want to go into the detail of it. How do you do that Islamically? For every tree, we issue a token. You know, fintech. For every tree. When the tree grows, after 5 years, say for example, for argument's sake, you put a plant. They issue, instead of giving you a share, they give you a token. So say for example, you buy it for 1,000 rupees. When the tree is ready in 5 years' time, this value of the tree will be 100 times more. And this is where you got capital appreciation, you have developed the economy, ESG, but sukuk, or Islamic tokenization. Venture capital is, have you heard about, say, Facebook? You heard about Facebook, right? He had an idea, Mark Zuckerberg had an idea. he didn't have money, people pump in money on him, and then after a certain time you move away and he will carry on with his work. I have developed a concept called micro venture capitalism. What does that mean is a person he doesn't have money, but he's not a multimillionaire. His idea are, okay, let us take you are a dentist, for example. That you are a dentist, you just qualified. You don't have money to buy the equipment. How do we help that person? Islamically, you can put few people together, few old dentists who got some extra money. Say you need 1 million rupees to develop it. I don't know how much you need, right? You start with what you call a mudaraba. Mudaraba is a sort of partnership in Sharia where one person gives the knowledge, the time, the expertise, the other one gives the finance. As he's working, he built up his clientele. You make it become a diminishing musharaka. That is, he become a partnership where he can buy your shares because now he got money. Then after 5 years, what you call the exit, he moves out. Right? So you start with a seed capital and then exit. This, I feel, is extremely important. What I'm saying here is in a case of, let us take the case of Mumbai, for example. There are so many wallahi, there are so many youngsters who got fantastic ideas, but they don't know where to start. They don't have the money. So if you can put them with some people, say for example, somebody wants to establish a bakery, right? Look for 4 bakers, tell him, put 1 crore, whatever it is, help this buy. Okay, you're going to monitor him, he's going to shadow you. After 5 years, this youngster will stand on his own feet. You have got a profit, your capital is saved. So this is what I've said, instead of going to the bank, etc., etc., you don't have, you have riba, blah, blah, blah. This is a potential solution, venture capitalism. There's no time to go in detail, but I'm bringing it at a micro level for the small people. Right? Usually in a venture capital, the minimum investment is about $110,000. $110,000. Who will get $110,000? So the youngster, I bring it at a micro level. We have to do that. So this is another way. Next, please. So this is how we create wealth. Next, I'm almost finished. The next stage is wealth accumulation. So once you create wealth, Sharia asks you, you got the idea how to create, you got to accumulate it. Prepare for the future. Yeah? Like Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas on his deathbed, he was dying, he thought he was going to die. He went to Rasulullah and he wanted to give everything fi sabilillah. What Rasulullah told him, no. He came to 100%, so 2/3, half, and then he comes to suluth, 1/3. Rasulullah said, up to 1/3 you can give. The rest, and listen to this word of Rasulullah, leaving your children financially stable is better than leaving them to be poor. Again, look at the vision of Rasulullah. So this is why I would say we create the wealth, but we also accumulate it for the next generation. That is important, right? So you get Sharia compliant mutual funds to increase it, to accumulate it, ESG focus in retirement accounts, systematic investment plans, etc., etc. This is where you create it and then you accumulate it. You make it become bigger, you expansion, right? There is a theory in economics by Bentham called the velocity of currency, velocity of money in the economy. It's an extremely important theory in economics, how the amount of money galvanizes the economy. There is Professor Naps also who has developed that, and the Professor Ines as well, but that is another debate, the theory of money. But remember, Sharia has its own theory. There's no time for me to talk about the theory of money in Sharia. Next, please. Then you get, once you have accumulated it now, you don't want it to get out of control. Sharia says you got to preserve it. This is why I say hifzul mal, right? So this way you can protect it through a takaful cover. You don't have takaful here, but it will come slowly. Islamic insurance, ESG compliant insurance solutions, asset diversification. You don't put all your eggs in one basket. Emergency funds in liquid Sharia compliant accounts. So there are many ways where you're going to preserve your wealth. So you create your wealth then you accumulate it, then you're going to preserve it. Next. I'm almost finished. I know you're tired. Then very, very important is distribution of wealth. This is a huge area of Islamic studies, what you call wealth management. So I told you early on, step. Once you finish your course, become an SCCA, then become a member of STEP. Wealth management is becoming a crucial issue here because with globalization, people have property in Dubai, they have a bank balance, they got maybe a business in Singapore. How do you merge all the things? That is your future. Take it from me. Now, when we talk about wealth management, in the mind of people, oh, we're going to do miras. Miras is part, Islamic law of inheritance is part of it. There are so many things. When we talk about wealth management, think seriously about doing your career in this area, wealth management, all right? So when we look about what you invest in it, the next one is your purification of it. This is where you got to look in giving your zakat. As you know, zakat is a pillar of Islam. I remember I visited a family office where billions of dollars are being invested. So they told me, okay, you are too small for us. Okay, I'm too small. They look big Sharia scholars. Okay. But believe me, when I was leaving the room, the fund manager called me. I'm talking of billions here, I'm not talking about millions. He said, do you know zakat? Because we're having a problem in zakat calculation. Right? So this is just to give you an idea, with the modern economy, with fintech, we have to relook into zakat. Those who have studied the book of Sheikh Yusuf Qaradawi, Fiqh al-Zakat, his doctoral thesis from Al-Azhar University, will understand what I'm saying. The way you calculate zakat on sukuk is different from the way you calculate zakat on shares. Even the shares now, are you investing to get dividend or are you investing to sell the shares? The calculation is different. Right? In the same way for ETF, right? The same way if you're going to get Islamic derivatives. I don't want to go into this fiqh debate here, but there are some issues on that. So those financial instruments that I mentioned earlier on, that we are using in today's time, how do you calculate zakat on that? This is another debate, right? So very important, you get sadaqah and voluntary charitable giving. So usually when you filter your investment, they give you up to 5%. The ratio we use in investment is your total haram investment divided by your total revenue. Up to 5% we tolerate it. Above that we cannot invest that company. So suppose you have received, for argument's sake, 100 rupees profit and you have some doubt of it, up to 5% you must remove and give it to the poor. That is what you call purification. So you got zakat to give, you got purification of your investment, you have also impact investing or social enterprises and community development investment. That is a huge topic, community development investment. There's no time to go on that. Just to make you think about somebody which you know very well who has invested in this country. I don't want to go in politics, I'm not a politician, is Bill Gates. Have you seen the Bill Gates Foundation? How many work they are doing? So the richer you go, you reach a point where you don't know, you got so much money, automatically your heart says start doing for the community. Now how do you, from Islamic point of view, how do you contain that approach? Right? So for example, a person invests, I don't know, 1 crore in the bank. He's receiving interest. What do you do with that interest? Right? Where do you? Technically you say haram. Okay, it's haram. I'm not arguing that. But what the fuqaha have said, what to do with this money? How do we use this money? Just because haram you throw it on the land, on the soil. No, use this money. Okay, you can use it. Okay, I'll give you an example. You fry your chicken or whatever, you get the oil become dirty. You sold the oil? No, you can recycle this oil, right? So in the same way, the interest which is haram, but you don't throw it away. Fuqaha have written on that. So we can use it for community development investment. There's so many projects out there. Okay, next please. So the purification, and that is a very important part, the wealth distribution. So once you have invested, be it on stock market, be it on ETF, be it on sukuk, whatever you have invested into, you need to plan what to do next. I have seen, I'm talking as a lawyer here, not as a Sharia scholar, I've seen so many problems with evaluating this. The father invested in X amount of shares in X companies, and he suddenly passed away. He didn't say what to do with that share. Now, from a legal point of view, you got to evaluate that share. What value do you take? You got listed companies, you got unlisted companies, and that become a musibah for the children, right? And as you know, if you invest in the stock market, today it's X amount, tomorrow it's X amount. right? So this is important that you take those precautions on your wealth distribution, your inheritance, your estate planning and state tax planning. Please have a will. I was talking to Mufti Ashfaq the other day. People don't have wills and that causes problem in the family. Right? You must have a will, and there is a specific way to draft will. Like for example in UK, we have the Wills Act of 1837 that tells you when a will will be valid, when a will not be valid. Right? But for a Muslim, there are specific conditions needed in a will. For example, what to do with your organ. Do you give organ? I don't know what to do in the fiqh debate here. I'm just raising those issues. What about post-mortem? What about cremation? What to do with your body to be buried? That's your own personally, right? How do you appoint an administrator of your estate? What about your debt? What about is a tax assessment of your death on your estate? What about if your entire family dies? What happened to your estate? What about an arbitration clause if your children start fighting? You don't want all the money to be wasted with lawyers. So there are specific things that Muslim must consider. Here is a law, but on top of that, this is where people like you comes up, your next generation, you got to equip yourself to help the community, right? So when we talk about waqf endowment, mashallah, that is a big area. I can talk hours and hours on that. One of my students, he's from India actually, he wrote his doctoral thesis on the fiqh evolution of waqf for the last 600 years. And if you want to see the dynamism of waqf, go to Singapore. Go to Singapore. They'll read the doctoral thesis of Dr. Shamsia. It is available on internet. Go on, please write it down. Ethos, E-T-H-O-S, British Library. Ethos, British Library. You click on it, look what the thesis you want. Some thesis you will pay $54. Those who are Islamic, you don't pay anything. You can download it for free. Doctoral thesis. So there is one there by Dr. Shamsia. Her doctoral thesis, how do you galvanize fiqh to revive waqf in Singapore? It's worth reading that, okay, if you want, okay. Then you get family trust. That also is a huge area of you need to learn. And finally, educational trust for the future generation. So you have 5 stages in your wealth. You got to create it, you got to accumulate it, you got to preserve it, you got to purify it, but also you must plan how to distribute it, what you call intergenerational transfer of asset. For the next 10 years, we got about $10 trillion that will be transferred from one generation to the next. This is a huge amount, $10 trillion, right? So this is where you got to plan your career. When we talk about finance, we talk about Islamic finance, we talk about Islamic economics, etc. This is where you got to channel your efforts, where you want to be in the next 5-10 years. So this is just a very tip of the iceberg we are discussing here. I don't want to go further than this because of time. I know you are tired. I will stop here. I hope this little sharing of ideas will be beneficial for you. I will stop here. Subhanallah bihamdihi. Subhanakallahumma nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Jazakallah.
Okay, Jazakallah. Am I audible? Am I audible now? Okay. Jazakallah khair, sir. I think we all have got bombarded with lots and lots of information with 2 experts. So now we are moving on to the next, a very important session where you have to participate, which is question and answer session. So I would like to ask, request in fact, all the speakers to please come on the dais. If Afra, please coordinate with the mic.
Hello, hello.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, thank you very much. So I think I can take that privilege and I can start with the questions. As I have something in my mind when Mr. Ashraf Mahmoodi Saab started with his speech. So you have mentioned the case of Zimbabwe, where the currency got collapsed, and then after that slide, you have mentioned the power of compounding for 15%. So take an example: if a person invests in a mutual funds, or then the whole scenario again create in that particular country, and the money get collapsed. So what about all that investment what you have done with all the ambitions?
Right.
And connecting to that question, what I have in my mind as a solution is you can invest in bullion, gold or silver. So the second question connected to that is to Dr. Fuzail Saab, that what is the Sharia permissibility for that investment in bullion? Thank you.
Right. So normally, so what I showed you over here was a very simple kind of compounding, but with something like 15%, 17%, the compounding over time kind of takes care of that inflation aspect to a great extent. So if you are creating that wealth, but even if inflation eats up into that, there is a margin that's available. If things go completely out of control, then the entire economy is down. Then there's nothing that we can do naturally. But the normal process, India has witnessed inflation levels coming down from 24-25% to the government published numbers, 24-25% to 3%. So that going back to those 24-25% needs something really drastic. You really need a fool who's greater than Trump to do something for that in India.
So we can assume we are in a safer hand as of now. Okay. Thank you very much. Over to you, sir.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Okay, regarding investment in gold, I'm not giving a fatwa, I'm just saying what is out there, because I don't think it's the right place to give a fatwa, right? There are two main views on that. The first one is in Sahih al-Bukhari, there's a hadith of Rasulullah, when you exchange gold for gold, silver, it must be yadan bi yadin, it must be on spot, right? Some ulama are of the view that when you are exchanging, because gold and silver were money in those times, there was coins, right? So if you are to exchange it, you want to buy and sell, it must be on spot. And is it on spot? Do you get it back in your hand, etc.? Do you have milkiyat tamma, etc.? That is a question that they raise. It's not, they take the position no. But the reality in the industry is people want to invest in it. For example, the London Metal Market, where you can buy it, you get the milkiyah of the bullion, but you have a concept called constructive possession. You don't possess it, it stays there. Just like, for example, you buy shares on the stock market. You don't hold the shares in your hand. It is with the fund manager. He has a constructive possession on it, what you call qabza hukmi, not a qabza haqiqi. Yeah? So that is where the difference of opinion are. In UK, the way I look at it, the way I've read it, the ulama gave jawaz for it. You can invest on the London Metal Market if you want to get it in bullion. But going at a macro level, it's not about me and you buying. We are talking of the industry involving when they got excessive cash, which they cannot leave because they cannot loan out because of the Basel II, Basel III convention. So we're talking of millions and millions here. If you're not going to invest it and you cannot give it out because of your capital adequacy ratio, sorry for that, my younger children, but those who are in they will understand what I'm talking here, right? Then what do? It become a necessity because the money will depreciate. And this is where you invest on either on sukuk, which is less risky. That also is problematic. If it is a C+ rating by S&P, you're in trouble. So you look for a A+ or B+ max. You don't want to take risk as a financial institution, and you don't want your money to depreciate. So you got very limited scope for what's called the red money. So you invest and reverse murabaha on the metal stock. So this is where they facilitate that. They say you can do on a constructive possession. Yes, you can argue as at individual level, there must be yadan bi yadin, etc. You must get the gold back, etc. I do appreciate this fatwa. So this is not the fatwa I'm giving. I'm just highlighting the different views on this topic of investment in gold. We got to look at our time, our zamana, the demand of the market, the rule of need and necessity, haja wa zarura, etc. before we take a decision. And the Mufti locally will know better than me. I don't know the market in India.
Jazakallah khair. Yeah, so we'll be moving on to the next question. Dr. Shamsurab, then we'll be taking questions from Mr. Yusuf Saab.
Sir, Ashraf sir, se my first question to you. While talking about the mutual funds here in India, you talk about the Taurus, Tata, Quantum, also Sharia Bs are there. But are there mutual funds based in US, means abroad, stock exchanges that can generate more returns than Indian mutual funds, Sharia compliant Indian mutual funds? So in fact, our currency is depreciating versus the US dollar. So can we get the advantage of currency appreciating in terms of when we invest in US dollars and also in their mutual funds? And my question to you, sir, in fact, while screening the companies for equity investments, Sharia compliance, we allow some percentage of interest in that company. For example, 5% somewhere, some 10%. So I want to know what are the jurisprudential proofs for that? Do we have any Sharia proof for that, or we are doing it randomly or out of necessity? What are the foundations? Thank you.
So one very good way of investing in the US is I would suggest a Wahed Invest and their ETFs. Right, so that's a good platform, very convenient for us to enter small SIPs, $10 at a time can be done and so on. And for a long term, that's a good solution. Otherwise, also there is this app called Islamically, which there is Musaffa as well, Islamically and so on. They monitor the US markets and they come out with, Islamically has a product called Moons. Now Moons looks at the different mutual funds, the Sharia ones, and even if they are not Sharia compliant or certified, they would look at the constituents of the portfolio, and based on that they would suggest whether you can invest, with what level of purification and so on. So that's one way of looking at the US mutual fund market, inshallah.
Before I answer your question, Doctor, do you have a credit card? Do you have a credit card in your pocket right now, or debit card?
Yes.
You have it, right. So you have already polluted your work because you're working with the bank. Yeah? Rasulullah says in a hadith to this effect, a time will come where riba will become so rife that everybody will be involved in it. Even you don't involve, the riba will reach your nostrils. Mafhum hadith. This is the time that we are living in. Yeah? With the financial economy, we are infested with riba. Keeping that in mind, the fuqaha are looking into it. In 1992, if my memory serves me well, or 82, there was a conference on that in Harvard University. One of the leading Sharia scholar, Sheikh Nizam Yaqubi, Barakatuhum, has delivered a paper on that. I've got enough paper on that, on this document, those who are for, those who are against, right? There is a legal maxim, for example, that we use in Sharia, that the hukam is based on the majority. Right? Aktharul, I forgot the Arabic version. So when we look into those things and the importance, as I mentioned earlier, for investment, the fuqaha have taken a lot of legal maxims to purify it. A lot of legal maxims. There's no time to go in those legal maxims here that they have looked into, those who are against, those who are for. Al-aktharu min hukm al-kull in Arabic. The majority, you give it to the ruling for the entire thing, right? So based on that, this is where they say you can take it and you purify it. The reason, let us take the London stock market, about 3,000 companies, not a single company there, Muslim. What do? Right? The average person cannot invest in a property worth billions or millions. He got maybe 1,000, 2,000 rupees he want to invest. You follow? And this is what the ulama said, we are giving these other criteria, either you follow the AOIF standard or the Dow Jones Islamic Index, or you follow the FTSE Sharia Index, whatever you want to follow. These have been approved by Sharia scholars, and this is where they got the element of purification there. You take it and you purify it. Asking too many questions also at times, there's two hadith on that. One is, don't ask too many questions, right? And the dalil of it, once somebody sent some food to Rasulullah sallam, he asked who sent it, some milk it was. He says so and so. Is it from his animal? Yes, Rasulullah drank it. Halas. He didn't say what type of grass the animal ate. He didn't go in those details. Don't ask too many questions. Get the basics what you want. On the other hand, there's another hadith also. The key to knowledge is ask question. This is the balancing we have to make when we decide to invest. To what extent do we go, right? I don't want to go too much. The ulama have put a lot of hadith in front of us in Quran. Riba is haram, there is no compromise on that. There is no compromise. To what extent do we involve? We are already involving in that. Where do you want to go, right? I don't want to criticize our community, but there are so many, right? I'll give you an example. You want to build a mosque. We need millions and millions and millions. People like me and you, where you got to get millions? Where you go? You go to the Tajir. And the Tajir is taking overdraft. Let's face reality. This is a profit he made by taking an overdraft. He imported, he opened his LC, and that same money he's paying you, and you're taking your baby in your masjid. Now, let's face it, right? I'm not criticizing, that's the real. It's not here, all over the world, this is what we see. So what we say, okay, don't build masjid now, right? Let us take this institute. We're trying it, go back in the... So you will find somewhere along the line, you will be caught into it, and we got to purify it. This is what the ulama say. Yeah? I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you very much. Next question, Professor Yusuf. Students, are you ready for the questions? Please raise your hand. So
my question is to Ashraf sir. Is equity compounding in halal funds same as interest-based compounding? Because sir, you have shown the chart of the compounding process. So is it same as the interest-based compounding process? Concept, I'm just talking. And second question, how do Islamic mutual funds address the concept of time value of money without interest? Considering without interest.
In fact, the second question was in my mind, but you have asked. I have restricted myself. Thank you very much.
So when we talk about compounding in mutual funds, it's the continuous process of one way it happens is there is growth in the value of the portfolio, right? Or the other way is there is trading that's happening and profits being booked regularly. So whatever compounding that we see is on the basis of the growth and the profit. There is nothing fixed in terms of growth happening on a regular basis as it happens in interest. So that's why there are times like in the past last year, we're talking about a return of 44% in Taurus Ethical Fund and 36% in Tata Ethical Fund. But today, cut to today, January 2026, we are below 7-8% at the moment, annualized, right? So all of that then kind of averages out, and then we talk about 15-16% as an average over 30 years. So that's how it's different from interest. Right? The other aspect of time value for money. So here, since there is no calculation in terms of additional money on money kind of a thing, it's all about investment in industries and getting profits out of that getting distributed and so on. So the whole point of time value of money and compensation therein does not rise, because this is completely a profit-based thing going on, inshallah. Right? And if we go with the hadith, the two hadiths on questions that the Sheikh mentioned, if you're going with the first option, then the question answer session is over. If you go with the second option, then tafaddal.
Okay, so we can allow one student. She is faculty or a student. So you are the student. You can.
Okay, so I wanted to ask that as we are Muslims, we are practicing Muslims, but sometimes we are scared to invest. We think twice before investing. So what happens when different scholars have different opinions on same investment products?
Islam says in a hadith, ikhtilaf is rahmat in that. I differ with many old scholars, and many scholars differ with me. That's fine. The usul is you stick to one, because every mufti got his own way of giving you a fatwa, and you don't do fatwa shopping. That's the problem. This is why I mentioned earlier on, the Quran says, have you not seen those people who have taken their desires to be the deity? Because we want to invest in a company. Is this Maulana fatwa? Is that okay? Let's go to Maulana. This is what we are doing. That's not the purpose of the whole debate of it. The whole purpose of debate is to get a clarity on it, and then you decide what you want. I'm a lawyer, right? And we got an act of parliament that says, okay, this specific law, this is what it is. If this was so clear, why the other lawyer got a different view, I got a different view? This is human nature. That doesn't mean this is what you get the court and say, okay, this is a position. What you call, a stare decisis, right? That is, you got a binding force and say, okay, this is a law on this ruling. And this is where my late teacher, Professor Abdul Rahman Dur Rahmatullah Alayhi, says, a langra is better than a person who have got no feet. So even you got the All India Fiqh Academy is giving you something, or Majmu' al-Fiqh of Jeddah is giving you something. Try to, if possible, get the view of those Majmu' al-Fiqh where great scholars are sitting together, they are debating it, and they give you a resolution. So if you want to follow that, that's one solution. The other one that we try to abide in the Islamic finance is the AOIF standard, right? For example, filtering of shares. If you look at the AOIF standard, it's different from the FTSE Sharia index. Quite different, right? For example, the AOIF talk about market capitalization, FTSE look at the total assets as denomination. Completely different. The results is completely different. AOIF doesn't talk about purification, FTSE Sharia index talk about purification. So that's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. We all know, more or less, we are talking within the radius of 30%, 5%. There is how we call it, a convergence. There is a doctoral, sorry, I'm an academic, I will quote you doctoral thesis, yeah. There is a paper by Mazban, M-A-Z-B-A-N. He has compared all the things and he make a fiqh analysis of it. If you can download that, it's a very good paper, right? I think he's with the World Bank now, if I'm not mistaken. So you do have it, and you must have it. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, sorry, I say that and then I'll stop because of time. He told the Sahaba Kiram, you go to this place, go directly to this place. Now it was Asr time. The question here, do we read Asr, we stop and then we go there, or we go there then we read our Asr and Maghrib? Some Sahaba decided to stop to read Asr, some decided no. Prophet said, you must read there. So we're going to read that place. Yeah. So the point here is, even Sahaba Kiram had this difference of, it doesn't mean that they got out of the pale of Islam because they had difference of opinion. Right? You follow? So that definition, the Susam says is Rahmah, is good. I mean, unfortunately I can't say that. When I sit with my Sharia board, the depth we go, we went to have paracetamol. The amount of detail we must go to give an opinion, right? So Mufti Shafi Rahmatullah Alayhi, I'll just say that and then I stop, right? In his book, which is available on the internet, Islamic Organ Donation and Blood Transfusion, it's about 36 pages, you can read that. He said that in those days, he was a Grand Mufti, Sheikh Taqi Usman, his father. He said some group of ulama used to start every Saturday in a house to discuss modern issues. And he said, that is his word, giving fatwa on those modern issues is like crossing Pulsirat. That was the word of Mufti Shafi. So when a faqih is sitting and is giving a fatwa, he make his own whatever way he came up with a fatwa, we stick to one or following the resolution. There's a lot of debates that goes on whether it's halal or haram. You know that they scratch their head and say, okay, it's halal or haram. No, like cryptocurrency. We had a conference on cryptocurrency. If I tell you how much research we are doing on cryptocurrency, I got about 35 fatwas from different governments. So it's not that easy. So either you follow a resolution, or you follow AOIF, or you stick to one mufti.
Jazakallah khair. Due to paucity of time, I think we can take 2 more questions. Any faculty who's ready to ask? Okay. And one is Sadia. Sadia, you can start, then we'll move to faculty. We can do it quickly. Yeah. Possible.
Assalamu alaikum. My question is, how can someone start speed investing in halal way as a beginner, and what kind of risk we should avoid or watch out for?
I think it's directly to Ashraf Saab.
So the whole idea of speed investing is, there was this concept of speed networking. You go to a meeting like BNI, etc., and they give you a session, half an hour, just go meet everyone in the room, quickly introduce yourself and so on. So it took off from there. A very non-compliant option from there emerged was speed dating. So let's not even go there. But then we took that up and we said, how about speed investing? Right. So this SIP thing that we talked about, 19 years, 1 crore rupees and so on and so forth, that's not appropriate for Gen Z. The students over here. They want everything instant. Instant noodles, instant coffee, instant gratification, right? So that's where we started working on this concept. And it's all about no SIPs, no mutual funds, nothing of that sort. It has to be directly in equity shares. And you have a shorter term framework to work with. You don't go long term, invest. Like in the past, people used to say, my grandfather, he used to tell me that when you're investing, make the shares your ardhangini. What is ardhangini? Wife, right? Matlab, janam ka saath. That's how it was supposed to be. But now, that whole idea is not tenable. So you need to quickly get in, get out of a stock, move on to something else, book profits, buy it lower and so on. That's where you can, inshallah, go ahead and generate about 1 crore rupees, not in 19-20 years, but in the next 5 to 7 years. That's what the 1 crore formula course is based on, that concept.
Jazakallah. Last question, please. To give it to the ma'am.
Sir, I had 2 questions. One is for Dr. Faisal, sir. My question is that according to the concept of murabaha, we can have, profit. And now different shopkeepers, they have their own profit percentage. Like some keep it 10% and some, 50%. So I just wanted to ask, like, what is the appropriate amount of, profit percentage that we can keep according to the Sharia, like according to Islam? And my second question is for you, sir, Ashraf, sir. My question is that you mentioned that we should start investing, early, from an early age. So I just wanted to ask that as youngsters who do not have a lot of income, if we would like to invest in Tata Ethical Fund and Quantum Ethical Fund as such, so what is the process and what do we have to do?
Thank you. Regarding the first question, murabaha, under Islamic economics, the whole idea about monopoly, oligarchy, which market is being controlled. As far as my knowledge goes, Sharia has not stipulated the amount of profit It's based on the law of supply and demand. In the time of Rasulullah, prices was going up. Sahaba went to Rasulullah and told him, look, the price is going up, intervene in the market. I mean, you have studied economics, Adam Smith and all those things, right? You say Allah is Musahir. Allah is a controller of prices. In other words, like Adam Smith would say, the invisible hand, you know. So let the law of supply and demand regulate that. We don't intervene except under certain circumstances. However, there is another concept in Islamic economics called ghaban fahish. That means excessive profiteering. When somebody does not know the price of the market and you abuse on his ignorance, that's not jaiz. This is important. There was a case in the Sabah Sarawak High Court around 2008 where Islamic bank was charging about 2% more than the conventional bank, and the person could not pay, so the bank applied to court to repossess the house. The judge, who had a very good grasp of a fiqh, he said, but look, you are excessive there. Go and recalculate it. Not all judges will do that. Under the law of contract, there is a concept called non est facto. You have signed, you are bound to it. But the judge went beyond that. He was looking at the intention of the person. He wanted Islamic mortgage. That's not a reason to abuse on him. And Sabah Sarawak is not Kuala Lumpur, it's quite remote, right? So that is an example I'm giving about Rasulullah himself told the people, don't go and meet the Bedouin who would come and sell because they don't know the price. So the people of the city would go out, negotiate with them a cheaper price and then control the market. So there is nothing in Sharia that stops you from doing that. There can be different rates as far as I'm concerned. But if there is excessive profiteering, that is unethical business. That's not what Sharia encourages. Okay, Jazakallah.
Jazakallah khair. Now I would like, okay, sorry.
Question, right. So as far as the youngsters investing is concerned, I can understand that while you are not earning and you're dependent on your parents most of the time, you have very limited resources. And to be able to sustain that while investing, you can do a systematic investment plan. In Tata Ethical Fund, it could be as much as 150 rupees a month or even a quarter, right? And then whatever is available. So generally my thumb rule that I say is that 20% of whatever incomes you have. So if you are having a 3,000 rupees pocket money as well, just go ahead with 500-600 rupees and that should be fine, right? How do you do it? You need a PAN card, you need an Aadhaar card linked, and using that you can need a bank account and you can just start off. If you are minors, in that case, you just need a bank account. Your parents linked Aadhaar and PAN card should work. That's how it operates. Jazakallah.
Jazakallah. Now I would like to ask Dr. Mujahid Nadwi Saab to take over and complete the program further.
Thank you very much, Abdul Rashid sir, for conducting this question answer session. Now, with the men of literature, sir, teachers of literature actually, even if it is about finance and all these things, but still we continue with the same rhythm of poetry. कोई कनपट्टी पे रिवॉल्वर रख के बोले कि पोइट्री या गोली, तो हम ये बोल के मरेंगे कि पोइट्री. गोली मार दो लेकिन शेर तो बोलकर जाएंगे. तो सर आप दोनों के लिए कि जो आपने आज यहाँ पर बच्चों को और हम सबको इंस्पायर किया, इनफैक्ट आई वुड लाइक टू से दैट कि वाकिफ़ नहीं जो लोग सफ़र के उसूल से, वाकिफ़ नहीं जो लोग सफ़र के उसूल से, साए की भीख मांग रहे हैं बबूल से. और मैं आज तक सफ़र में हूँ इस एतमाद पर, और मैं आज तक सफ़र में हूँ इस एतमाद पर, उभरेंगी मंजिलें मेरे कदमों की धूल से इंशाअल्लाह. So whatever ideas that you have given us, sir, inshallah they will ignite our minds and they will guide us about this beautiful topic in the future as well. Now, without any delay, we are in the last leg of this program, and for concluding remarks and summary of the seminar, with all respect, I invite the head of the Department of Economics, Dr. Rakshanda Hani Madam, on the stage.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And very good afternoon to everyone present here. Respected speakers of today's seminar, Dr. Faisal Ahmad Majju and Mr. Ashraf Mohammad Ali, my colleagues, Senior Professor Aziz and other colleagues in various departments. First of all, I congratulate everyone on the completion of this deliberation, the expert speakers here, as well as the organizers of this seminar. Maharashtra College took initiative to organize this seminar to provide a forum for scholars, practitioners, students, faculty, and community representatives to discuss finance practices that benefit society at all levels. For greater outreach, the proceedings of this seminar are being streamed live so that people online can also join. Data shows that India houses third largest Muslim population in the world, yet deliberations in Sharia-compliant financial practices are asymmetric. So the onus of creating such a system lies on the Indian Muslim diaspora. Past instances have revealed that in pursuit or investing in halal ventures, Indian Muslims have been duped by several Ponzi schemes. Availability of Sharia-compliant products in the formal, organized, regulated system with built-in mechanism for investor protection is the need of the hour. Mr. Ashraf Mohammadi covered the various practical aspects of Sharia-compliant investments, addressing the question, how can the youth practically implement ethically accepted investments? He brought out the menace of inflation caused by interest that destroys not only the individual but also the economies, and how despicable interest is in Islam. He very rightly brought out the Maqasid-e-Sharia that includes preservation of wealth, that is Hifzul Mal, which was a very good reminder. Various investment options were brought out, and the superiority of investment in mutual funds and equity was explained. Comparison of savings ratio in India and US reveals we have a long way to go. Dr. Faisal Ahmad Majju, he began with the civilizational change occurring in the world where India is emerging as a superpower, along with the mind-boggling growth in digital technology. And in all this, innovation is the key for growth. His presentation spoke of understanding ethical investment vis-a-vis Islamic investment, converging ESG and Islamic finance. A very important principle that he brought out in very simple words, that for a transaction to be Sharia compliant, there are three conditions. The person selling must take responsibility. It should involve a risk element, and effort must be put into the transaction. So the economic activity has to be compensated. However, the conventional finance is based on riba, while in Islam, real economy occupies the base. The main difference between ethical investment and Islamic investment is the former varies by personal values, whereas Islamic investment is religiously guided. He spoke of strategies for convergence of ESG and Sharia-compliant finance through ethical principles, sustainability, and wealth creation. He gave the 5 pillars of wealth creation: accumulation, preservation, purification, and distribution. So the seminar brought home the point that wealth building is not only profitable, but also a socially and morally responsible exercise. Participants gained a practical understanding of how faith-based, value-based finance actually works in the modern market. The seminar helped to identify investment vehicles, prioritize long-term capital appreciation, gain confidence to invest in global market, ensuring that every rupee aligns with their ethical boundaries. So the key takeaways: renew your portfolio, whether it aligns with values. Consult experts, specialists in ethical funds to ensure proper diversification. Start now. And the best time to align money with values is today, regardless of the starting amount. So I thank everyone. I mean, definitely this will be followed by a formal vote of thanks, but it was quite an enriching discussion. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, madam. Rather, I would like to state it here that if there was a person who stood by all the activities or all the efforts taken for this seminar, so it was Rakshanda madam, that it was because of her that this idea could materialize. Thank you very much. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said that the one who is not thankful to people is not thankful to Allah. So we ought to be thankful to everyone present here. And just to present a formal vote of thanks, I invite Dr. Shamsur Rab Khan from the Department of Arabic and Islamic Studies, and he is also the coordinator of this program. Dr. Shamsur Rab Khan, sir.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First and foremost, we bow our heads in gratitude to Almighty Allah, without whose grace nothing happens. So, first and foremost, thanks to the Almighty. We would like to extend our deepest appreciation to our principal, Professor Dr. M.Z. Shahid. He delivered the welcome address. Then the director of Khairul Islam Higher Education Society, Dr. Sirajuddin Chogle. He explained the objectives of this seminar very well. So we are thankful to both of them. And a special and heartfelt thanks to our speakers who enlightened us today and gave us a lot of ideas and insights regarding the ethical investing and many aspects of it. To Mr. Ashraf Mohammadi, CEO of Izafa Investment, and to Dr. Faisal Ahmad Manju, CEO of Minara Consulting Limited. We are deeply thankful to both of them. Thank you, sir. And our collaborators, Dr. Mufti Ashfaq Ahmed Sahab. He is the patron-in-chief of Family First Guidance. So we collaborated with them for this seminar. We are thankful to them for the help and assistance provided to us. And our deepest gratitude to our esteemed colleagues, Dr. Mujahid Khan, for hosting this program so beautifully, and Dr. Rakshanda Hani, IQAC coordinator and head department of economics, for presenting the concluding remarks and the summary and takeaway of the program. We are thankful to both of them. We are thankful to Professor Abdul Rashid sir for coordinating this program and also for conducting the question and answer session. We have some of our students. Samir Ansari, he recited the Holy Quran, and Afra Karbhari and Hamza Idrus, they introduced the speakers to us. So these are the kinds of example of the students we need to have. We are thankful to them for their efforts. Our technical team, that was quite effective and helpful in streamlining this program on YouTube and also Zoom. So we are thankful to them. The technical team from Family First, also Dr. Shahid Ansari from the IT department, and all those who worked with them. So we are deeply thankful to them. And the organizing committee, I'd like to just mention their names. We had Professor Abdul Rashid sir as coordinator, myself as joint coordinator, Dr. Bushra Farooqi, Dr. Muhammad Mujahid Khan, Dr. Mazhar Thakur, Professor Shahid Ansari, Miss Misbah Karbhari, and Miss Hina, and Professor Aqib Sheikhani. They were the members of the organizing committee, and they contributed to the success of this program. Finally, to the faculty members, research scholars, investors, and especially the students and all the audience who were there with us throughout the program, listened to the speeches very passionately. We are thankful to them. And that's all from me. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi. Subhanallah azim. One announcement, final announcement, please. We have the QR code here. Please scan it and complete the questionnaire. You will get the e-certificate through it after you complete it. So everyone, is it there seen online as well? Can we see it? Can you please zoom it for the online audience as well? And those who are yes, a message has also been circulated for the online audience as well. So please complete this form and you will get an e-certificate. That's all. Thank you very much. Thank you. Very well.